The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. The familiar face is back.
Guess who's back?
My man.
Back again.
Now we can now say this and probably get a chuckle out of it, but it was sure as hell not funny when it was announced that that you had COVID a couple of weeks ago.
I did. I got it. Who knows where you get it? That's the weird thing. You never know when you get it, and the symptoms probably were delayed a little bit because I know 3 days before I got symptoms, I wasn't anywhere. So, that's the scary thing about COVID is you could have it for 3 or 4 days without even knowing you have it, and give it to someone else before you show symptoms. But it was scary the first couple of days when I first got the positive test because of pre-existing conditions and everything. The
Sure.
doctor's like, we need to really
He's going.
watch you.
Yeah, he's doing one of those numbers.
I got off pretty clean. I mean, I had a fever. That was pretty much my worst symptom, the cough and the low energy. I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell, which I was happy about.
Clearly, you did not lose your sense of taste. You have your Chiefs gear on. I expected nothing less from you, young man.
So, I went through my 10 days of quarantine. I was ready by then, and I got back on the saddle almost right after that quarantine was up because I knew that we were down a couple people already from YSN. So as soon as I was ready to go, I was back on doing games.
And to be truthful, you would have been here on Monday, but we had a game to broadcast, which turned out to be maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and then the incredibly horrible thing with Izzy Lamparty happening, and thank God she's going to be okay.
Well, what I was originally scheduled to do that game, and then we had West Branch versus Western Reserve, which needed covered, so it was 3:37. So I was like, Brennan Miller, who does South Range games with me, he's perfectly capable of doing games on his own. So he did that game, and I did the Western Reserve West Branch game. Little did I know that everything that was going to go down at South Range. I mean, one, I wanted to compliment Brendan Miller for handling that the way he did because he immediately, did everything that we're supposed to at YSM when someone goes down, cut the feed, didn't show any of the camera work, and he did a great job handling that because that's a scary situation to be put in as a broadcaster because you don't really know what's going on because you're up in the mezzanine and everyone's down on the floor just kind of looking around. It was a really scary situation. And I'll say that when I did the West Branch Western Reserve game, the first thing Coach Shields and Coach Miller both said was, how's South Range? How's Izzy? So the respect that program has in the community was just shown the last couple of days. And, Coach Fitchell said that in his coach's corner last night. He's just proud of the community of basketball and the way everyone outside, even outside of South Range, has kind of reached out and put their arms around that program right now.
Yeah, frightening time, and certainly our thoughts and prayers with the Lamparty family, the South Range basketball family as well. But all likelihood, everything's going to have a happy ending, which is the best part of this.
As bad as it was, it's kind of the best case scenario with that, with getting out of the hospital as quick as possible and being back home and just kind of she's just kind of taking it a day at a time, which first scene, we were thinking this is really bad. So Coach Fischel calls them a program, not a team. So get together as a program and try to move forward and play for the players that can't be there.
Yeah, exactly. And I expect this program to be in good shape the rest of the regular season. And if Izzy is able to come back before the start of the tournament, great. If not, team will play and play at a top shelf level, because that's what Coach Fish wants from their team. And Coach Fischel is an outstanding coach. He'll get the best out of the kids that are on this roster.
And he said, today it's just going to be kind of a walk through and a team dinner, and then tomorrow they have a game. And he's really excited to kind of get his team back on a competitive game atmosphere, so they can kind of clear their mind a little bit. So,
speaking of games,
Oh.
So I have plenty of games that I've done with Crestview and among other teams. So what do I do on a night off, you ask? Well, I go see basketball. I go see my alma mater play, and Leetonia played Sebring last night. I saw Leetonia play the first game of the season. They got absolutely destroyed by United. I mean, it was ugly as you could get.
We talked about that game. They couldn't shoot well.
They didn't shoot well. They turned the ball over, but they shot great from the free throw line.
I believe the second game was the polar opposite. They shot well from the field
and it was horrible from the line.
So they're putting it together.
Yeah. Now I'm watching this game, and they scored 20+ points in the first quarter. Up tempo. As soon as they got the ball, they were running. They were up tempo basketball, throwing the extra pass, getting that wide open 3-point shot. Ian Davis and a couple of other kids were nailing these wide open threes because of the extra pass. On defense, they were doing a half court trap. I'm looking at this going, this isn't the team that I saw the first game of the year. Now, in fairness to Leetonia, everyone's back. Marco Ferri's been playing the last 3 games. Joey Guido's been playing the last 3 games. The entire varsity team is healthy. This team is undefeated since the entire varsity team got healthy. And after the game, I was talking to one of the parents, and we were trying to figure out when the last time Leetonia was on a 3-game winning streak. It's at least 7 years. It's fun to watch this basketball team. It's still a work in progress. They're 4-5, but man, this is a fun team to watch right now. And they're playing Wellsville tonight in the river, not literally in the river, but near the river. So it'll be an interesting test when they go down to see the Bears take on Bug Thompson and the Wellsville Tigers, and then Friday rematch with East Palestine. They're going to be busy, but I complimented Coach Dennis after the game. This team is 100-fold better from game one.
I don't think it's out of the realm to say that was probably the best game they've had all season.
No, there's no question.
Defensively,
yeah,
offensively, and anytime you score 22 in a quarter, that's going to put you in a really good spot because not a lot of teams can match that. But then, other basketball games. Last night was just like things that happened in a whole season all happened last night. I felt like I was just getting, oh man, that's really cool. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, 5 overtimes. Oh, double overtime. Oh, this girl broke a record. This guy broke a record.
It was pretty cool. Just watching all of this was pretty amazing.
Got to start by Drake Golden. Crestview. You do a lot of Crestview games.
Yeah.
He broke the boys program record with career points. I think it was 1307 going into last night. That was the record. He broke it with. I think he needed 8.
He needed 7 to get the record,
and then 8
and then he scored 8 points in the third quarter. I think it was when he broke the record, and he was disappointed. I think a lot of people were disappointed. They had that homestand, and they were hoping that he was going to break the record during that homestand. And I remember Drake came up to me before the Brookfield game and said, "Hey, I need X amount of points." Okay. Well, go get it. Go get X amount of points. And he was 7 points shy, and I thought to myself, well, damn, I'm not going to be able to broadcast this, but someone's going to be able to do it. And more importantly, Crestview continuing to play well. They upended LeBray last night, and that's a big win for them without Jack Yerke, who's going to be out for a couple of weeks because he twisted a knee.
What I appreciate about that performance, though, was like you said, everyone wants that moment to happen at home, and I get it, and it's one of those things where you love every milestone to happen at home. but he didn't let it affect his mentality going into that game. Because sometimes that happens. Someone's about to score 1,000 points. Maybe they have a home game coming up, and all of a sudden you see their effort go down to 70 or 50 to 70% because in the back of their head they're thinking, I want to score 1,000 at home.
Yeah.
That didn't happen with Drake. No one expected it to happen with Drake. He went all out for his team. I think he scored 18 points, and that's one of the reasons why he's one of the most respected boys players in the area.
It's a typical Drake Golden performance when he goes out, gets 18 points, quiet. It comes in spurts.
It does.
And especially when, and I say this not as an uncle, I say this as a basketball fan, especially when Anthony Cusick is giving him the ball, because Anthony has a way of putting the ball where it needs to be put for Drake to have a very nice opportunity to get a basket. He puts it in an area where he has sealed off the defender in the block, and he's able to get an easy bucket.
You said it's sealing. I mean, Golden is so good at getting good position in the post. I mean, and I wasn't surprised that his milestone point came in the paint because that's where he gets so many of those 13:07 points in the paint. He can definitely shoot.
Oh, yeah.
And he's dangerous from outside, but so much of his work comes in the paint. So I wasn't surprised when I saw that his record-breaking bucket came in the paint.
And in the way we talk about him, you would think he's 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". No. He's 6'3".
Right.
And a kid at 6'3" shouldn't be able to able to get his way in the block. But Drake has great feet, great court presence, and he's able to find the ways to get inside the block and get easy baskets.
And you also got to remember it's high school, so you're not seeing a bunch of teams with hand-picked 6'5", 6'7" guys.
They don't grow on. They don't grow on. Ooh, hey, here's a 7-footer. They don't grow on trees. Yeah, unfortunately,
so
they don't.
6'3" is a pretty good, decent size in high school level. Once he gets to college, everyone's 6'3" or higher. But
sure.
But yeah, 6'3", and that I think that's a perfect body build for his kind of skill set because he's such a versatile player. And what you said, it was a quiet 18, and I think that's great because it shows that he had a rough start to that game. He didn't score a lot in the first half, but it didn't hurt his mentality. He still went out, he still worked hard, he still put up his shots, and that's also something that's special about a basketball player that's trying to lead his team. He never lets a slow start or a little slump in his shot affect his game. And I think last night kind of emphasized that point.
Yeah, Kirkland Miller's the kid that had the big game. He scored 19 points, which is a career high, ripped down 13 rebounds, which is also a career high. And I was kind of nervous. I had heard that Yerke was out, and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks because he twisted his knee off the basketball floor. And, Jack does a really nice job of rebounding. That's amongst other things. He does a really good job of rebounding. Somebody needed to pick up the pace, whether it was Parazio, whether it was Miller, a couple of kids that are big, not Drake Golden big, but 6'1", 6'2"-ish. And both of these kids have done a really nice job of rebounding all year long. But the more I see of Kirkland Miller, this is the next kid that I think has a really good chance to go 1,000 points.
And the most impressive thing about him, and you brought up his size, no matter your size, if you're fundamentally good at rebounding, then your size doesn't really matter. Because if you box out a kid and he's taller than you and you box him out well, he's either has to go over the back to get you or you're getting the rebound.
Yeah.
So I think those kids are very fundamentally sound at boxing out and getting rebounds, whether it be Kirkland Miller, Drake Golden. Really, that whole Crestview team seems to be one of their strengths is getting on the defensive glass and keeping teams off the offensive board.
Well, and that's all about attitude as well.
Right.
I mean, it's just you have to have an unbelievably great attitude to want to rebound a basketball. It's where the mentality is, as soon as that shot goes off the rim, you know where it's going. You box your guy out, and you have an attitude of, I'm getting this ball, you're not getting it, that's the end of the story.
And how about that attitude? Because Kirkland Miller knew, just like everyone else, hey, Jack Yerke's out for a little bit. I have to step up and be this team's leading rebounder. And boy, did he ever step up with a career-high 19 points, 13 rebounds, double-double.
Yeah, it was nice to see that. It was just a really good performance last night. I didn't know what to expect from Crestview, and they were down 2 at the end of the third quarter. They outscored the Vikings 19-9 in quarter number 4. They get a really good win, and this was a team that after the Liberty game, they flat out said this is the worst game we played all year long, and I kind of got on some of them and said, look, you guys are better than this. Get your stuff together. And the last 2 games, they've done quite well. They looked really good against Brookfield. And last night, by all accounts, they did a solid job against LeBray.
So let's talk about what went down in Springfield.
Wait a second. Are they still playing basketball right now? We're kind of not sure. Not quite sure yet.
Well,
5 overtimes.
It was, Jamie and Romo always managed to get games like this, so they did a great call for us at YSN. But at the same time, it's just like you're sitting there watching and you're like, there's no way this will go to another overtime, right? Someone's going to get a last shot. Nope, we're going to another one.
Going to go to another one.
What was it in college? 6 overtimes for Syracuse UConn like 10 years ago?
Any time it goes past triple overtime, now it's a war of attrition. How many people are really dead tired, just jogging up and down the floor because they can't do anymore because their legs are starting to affect them? It just becomes a war of attrition at this point.
It becomes a war of depth because so many people are going to be fouling out at that point.
Absolutely.
You can only keep 4 fouls for so long, and I think both teams had multiple starters foul out. Springfield was down 2 starters already coming into the game because Clay Benvac and Bo Brungard were both out of the game to start. So what tremendous heart from Springfield, the bench players that came in and the captains that came in and finished that game strong. Adam Wary and R.J. Smith both hit 3s in that 5th overtime to really seal the deal, and 3s are hard to hit in a 5th overtime.
Oh, no doubt. To give everyone an idea, you get 3-minute overtimes. All right, 4-minute overtimes. 5 overtimes. Multiply that. That's 20 minutes. That is 2.5 extra quarters of basketball that was just played last night. So in reality, these 2 teams played 6.5 quarters of basketball thanks to the 5 overtimes. That's an awful lot of basketball.
And it's props to both defenses because usually, if you're thinking 5 overtimes, you're thinking these kids are in the 90s or 100s.
Yeah, absolutely.
But 79-70, that's a pretty low score for 5 overtimes. Both defenses played really well, and they've been playing really well all season, especially Poland's defense. That program is built on holding teams down. So defensively, they did a really, really good job, both teams. And then, like we said, in the 5th overtime, Springfield just had a little bit more leg with R.J. Smith and Adam Wary both hitting 3s to give them just that little bit of breathing room. And really, in a 4-minute quarter, that's all you need is just that little bit of cushion.
This game was tied at 44 at the end of regulation. And in overtime, Springfield scored a grand total of 35 points in the let me take that back. 35 points in the 5 overtimes. And Poland scored a total of 26 points in the 5 overtimes. So 2.5 quarters, right. 35 to 26. That's still some damn good defense. Yeah, that is just an impressive job by both teams. And let's be honest, Anthony, Poland is a really good Division II team. We're expecting when the tournaments come up, and we'll get to the whole mashing of the 2 tournaments. This is just going to be great all the way around. But you expect Poland to be right up there with West Branch and Salem and Ursuline, not to mention, by the way, Struthers and Cheney. Springfield's Division III. You just beat a quality Division II team, and you survived the war of attrition against a quality Division II team. Folks better understand this Springfield team is going to be really, really, really good in the D3 tournaments, whether it be Salem, Warren Harding, or a little bit of both.
And what I saw was really good is R.J. Smith in that 5th overtime. One of the reasons he was so effective is he only had 1 personal foul.
Yeah.
To go that long with 1 foul and still play really good defense, that is hard for a young kid to do. So props to RJ and the Tigers team and Coach French. I mean, I saw him at one point. He was just leaning on the railing. Because what else
seriously, what else are you going to do with this? I mean, you're just going to sit back and go, okay, that's we're tired. We kind of want to do this and just finish the game so we can leave.
I just imagine how the refs were feeling because they have to run as much as the boys do.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And, some of them are in their older ages.
Yes.
And they
yeah.
They might need some oxygen after that.
You would think. Yeah. That's this was in all seriousness and being a baseball umpire, this was the poster child of the Mahoning Valley needs younger people to be interested in becoming an official.
And I don't know who the refs were last night. I mean, they could have been the younger guy. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I've seen older refs at games, and
sure,
if they're in a 5 overtime game running back and forth,
you have to be in tremendous shape to do that. That's why I'm not a basketball official. Can you imagine me running my fat ass up and down the floor? That would have been oxygen by the end of the second quarter.
Ron's always doing this, like
I'm just no, not going to do it. Can't do it. Can't run up and down the floor.
You'd be one of those refs that sit on the bench between every quarter, like
just
doing some meditating,
drinking some serious water. That would just God. I props to the officials for putting up with that. That crazy. And by the way, you had a double overtime.
That
game.
wasn't the only overtime game.
Yeah, double overtime game up in Warren last night, which that's always
it's
fun.
a big win for Fitch. I mean,
it
Warren
is.
Harding's a powerhouse, and to go into that gym in a league game and win in double OT, that was impressive.
Now, I mean, I look at Harding's team, and I look at their record right now, and we've talked about this. There's going to come a point in time where the amount of games that you have played is no longer going to be the reason why your team struggles. Mm-hmm. Harding has played 6 games now. Now it's time for this team to start winning some ball games. They're 1-5, which is that's a tough record.
With teams like Warren Harding and Boardman and these Division I teams, the few that we have to take a step back and remember the caliber of their schedule.
Exactly.
I mean, it's some of the teams are. I mean, Harding and Boardman and the other D1 teams, girls and boys, are slated to play on their schedule. It's like, man, Perry,
yeah.
Maslin Jackson, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, the best thing Harding can do right now is just keep playing some basketball games, and the talent will start to take over, and things will start getting a whole lot better. But you're right, Fitch is now 5-6, 2-1 in the league with Harding and Boardman and Canfield and Howland. That's a solid win, and I cannot even begin to say enough about the Todd Simons is holy crap, can he play basketball?
Simon says,
yeah,
good.
34 points last night, 10 twos, 2 threes, and 10 of 12 from the free throw line. Mm-hmm. The kid did everything right last night. That's a great performance.
That conference is stacked of talent. I mean, when you think of Warren Harding's roster, Fitch's roster, then you look at Boardman's roster, you look at Howland's roster, it's like, oh man, just that conference. Forget the out-of-conference schedule that you got. The conference is just loaded with a lot of talent.
Yeah, and you have Canfield, and this is a young Canfield team. Look, there's some kids on this team that got some playing time last night that are freshmen. Mm-hmm. You know, Jake Schneider is one of the kids, and I remember him because he was on the 14U Astro Falcons team, and I can't wait to see this kid play baseball this spring with the Canfield varsity baseball team, because this kid, he is going to be a really good baseball player in Canfield.
I think everyone in Canfield is just kind of sitting on the edge of their seats for baseball season, because the basketball team's struggling a little bit, but they're young, like you said. Like you kind of expect that from a really young team, but everyone understands the baseball team is going to be top notch.
That baseball program is going to be unbelievable this year. But look, I mean, what are they now? 5-8.
Which credit, because like beginning of the season, I think you ask coaches around the area, you ask internally people around Canfield, they thought this boys team was going to have a really like a quote unquote down year.
Yeah.
And to have 5-8 on their schedule is surpassing a lot of people's expectations. And when you're a young team and you just kind of keep grinding, keep picking up all the wins you can, and then who knows, when you get in the tournament and you're young and you got experience now and you've beaten a couple of teams that maybe you quote unquote shouldn't, that'll give you a lot of experience for the tournament. So
that's a basketball team I wouldn't play in the first round of the tournament. I would not want to play Canfield.
I don't like young teams that are at the end of the season and you can tell on film that they've gotten better each game. Those are the ones that really scare me come tournament time.
And look, I mean, Boardman is solid. There's no two ways about that. I don't think we're surprising anyone by that statement. Boardman is a solid team. Fitch at times can be a fun team to watch. Last night was a classic example. Harding is going to be a whole lot better than 1-5 by the end of the season. Canfield is young. Howland is a fun team to watch as well. Boardman, Fitch, and Harding are the three teams that are Division I. Canfield and Howland are Division II. This is. I look forward to seeing all five of these teams come tournament time.
And then, unfortunately, you said it, the three that are Division I, it's like that bracket in Division I. It's a gauntlet.
Well, and then you have to add to whichever district we're going to get. Now, interestingly enough, while you were out, we had Doug Chapin, the Vindicator and Tribune Chronicle sports editor, and he made a comment that in the soccer and volleyball seasons during the fall campaign, they used the district to the north, which makes sense. Instead of the district over to the west, they went to the north. Okay, so if you're going to do that, then Division II to the north would be either the division with Geauga, Lake County, and a couple of other counties up there, because you have Mahoning, Columbiana, and Trumbull counties in your district. Now you're going to be looking at Geauga, Lake, perhaps Portage thrown in there as well. Division I, kind of the same thing, which would mean former Girard coach Bob Krasancic over at Menor. Which may not be a bad thing, but then again, Menor always is a really, really tough team. I'm just going to be curious how they do this when the tournaments come down, and like I said, we're 5 weeks away from the boys, 4 weeks away from the girls. At some point in time, we're going to get tournament draws and whatnot, and still a ways to go, but it'll be fun.
And the districts are out, at least for the girls. So we know what the teams are in the districts for the girls' side.
Yeah.
I don't know if the boys' districts.
But now have they announced which ones they're combining?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you know the 22 teams that you're going to be voting on, and I think
okay.
I think seeding is this week, and then the tournament draw is the next week. So we'll know in 2 weeks exactly where everyone's going to be. I think this week is when the coaches vote on seeding. And then next week would be the tournament draw.
That'll be interesting to see what happens. And
good news for South Range girls, they avoided Highland.
Well, yeah, Highland's to the south.
That was one of the things. Like we, talking to that program, they were saying they didn't know if Highland was going to be in that district or if they were going to be that region. But it looks like when you match it up and see the districts that are going to play in the regionals, they would avoid Highland until. State if they got that far.
Okay, so Berlin Highland's not even in our region.
No, it's going to be.
They'll probably in the Columbus region then.
Right.
Yeah, that's Berlin Highland has always been. It's always been one of those schools, just like Mansfield St. Peter back in the day with the boys. It's always one of those schools that teeters on the Northeast region and also the Columbus region.
They also teeter on what division they are. I mean,
that's true too.
They've jumped from 4 to 3 multiple times. They're a good team that everyone kind of is nervous about. So For the teams in our area that are in Division III, hey, whoever gets out of that district, you don't have to. It's pretty much. I think in that Cuyahoga Falls regional that our teams usually get into in Division III, it's going to be Waynedale that's going to be the biggest problem for our area teams because they look really good and they're going to be in that regional.
Well, Elyria Catholic is not too shabby either.
But Elyria Catholic also lost a lot of seniors last year.
Gotcha.
And they were the team that beat South Range in the regional final last year. Tuslaw is still going to be good. They're going to be in that regional, so you got to watch out for them. But those are some teams way in the future that we might be talking about if one of our teams is lucky enough to get into that regional.
By the way, speaking of stuff involving regionals and whatnot, we made this a point yesterday. There were no area teams, no boy area teams that made the top 10, let alone the leftovers. One team, one area team in the girls AP state poll, that would be Poland, number 10 in the state of Ohio. Everyone else is not on this list. Made the comment yesterday, and it makes sense. The Vindicator, the Tribune Chronicle, the Morning Journal, the Salem News, at one point in time, they were all owned separately, so you had 4 votes in this area. Now you only have 2. The Journal and the Salem News are the same entity. Those 2 equal 1 vote. The Vindicator and the Tribune Chronicle, they are the same entity. Those 2 papers equal 1 point. And you combine that with the fact, no disrespect, but it is truth, the boys and the girls have not really, the girls have done a better job. The boys still have not gotten a team out of the regionals. Last time we had a team in the state tournament was LeBray, and that's about 9 years ago. We have had better success with the girls basketball, but still, the perception is our area is not known for basketball. And I kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, now that I'm no longer pissed off about this, I'm kind of liking this because everyone is kind of looking at this area and saying, yeah, they're okay, but, and then you drop in your excuse.
Well, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I like this. Keep underestimating this area.
And you know as well as everyone else, the AP poll is a glorified popularity
Of course
contest.
it is.
I mean,
yeah.
It's nice to see that your team get in there, but at the same time, I think the first girls AP poll for Division III had Highland number 4.
Yeah.
I mean,
what are you going to do?
You know they're number 1, but
Yeah.
the AP's not putting them there. It's like...
By the way, they're a unanimous number 1 right now, which 20 votes, all 20 votes went to Berlin Highland. So they're a unanimous number 1 pick right now in Division III.
I think someone slapped them after week 1.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like, oh, Highland, right?
Yeah, Highland. Yeah. Now, as much as we've seen the girls, where are the guys in this? Because I haven't seen any poll showing Berlin Highland for the guys, which, let's be honest, they're always in Columbus. I mean, that's pretty interesting to see that team. That they're known for going to Columbus or making a deep regional run. But I haven't seen Berlin Highland in the boys poll yet.
We'll see. I mean, once again, the poll, you take it with a grain of salt. It's a lot of people just voting on teams because of the name or because of their popularity or whatever it may be. Because you don't see teams in Columbus or Cincinnati or Toledo. So over here, what do we know about those teams? And same for vice versa. So, and I think one of the reasons you see Poland in there is because 2 years ago they won the AP poll.
Sure.
So they're going to be given a little bit of respect from people around the whole state because they've been in there before and it's a name recognition thing.
All right, so yesterday, Struthers knocking off Girard. Wildcats continue to roll. And, again, yesterday I made mention on the program, this is the classic case of a team being not disrespected, but underappreciated. They go up to the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse and take on a very big name in Cleveland, Villa Angela, St. Joe's, and run them off the floor. This was Struthers is good.
And we have more teams playing at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I think Camel's going up there this weekend. So exciting to see some area teams get the opportunity to play on that floor.
Now, the only thing I hope the folks at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse are hiding the NBA 3-point line because I mean, kids are going to be going,
I can
so
do
this
this.
is an NBA three. Give me that ball. Let me see what we can do here. No, 1,000 times no. Don't do that. Yeah. McDonald getting a victory over Liberty last night. That's a solid victory for McDonald.
We have to talk about this Heartland Southern girls game because records dropped like flies on both sides. I mean, you had Southern freshman Ashley Schroeds drop 51 points, which ties the school record, which is amazing in itself. But then you had Heartland's Maddie Matthews go up and break the school record for not just single game points with 32, but also break the program record for threes in a game. You know what? I mean, like, you expect maybe a record to be broken one night, but, like, to have multiple records be broken by both sides on the same night, plus double overtime, plus 5 overtimes. What a night of basketball.
No kidding. And Ashley Schroeds, for those that are unfamiliar
Freshman,
with this name, when I was doing junior high coaching last year, obviously you see you get involved with junior high basketball. So I'm looking forward to seeing these kids. My 7th graders from last year are now in 8th grade, and next year they'll go into high school. I kept reading, Schroeds led Southern with 28 points, 30 points. I'm like, who the heck is this kid? And how the heck is she scoring all these points? God, I can't wait to see what she does in the varsity, sophomore year, thinking, they're surely they'll maybe put her in a few games as a freshman, but no. 51 last night.
Her first game of her career, she scored 38, and that was just one of those moments where you.
This kid is unbelievable. I mean, and the scary part.
By the way, she also had 17 rebounds.
Yeah. Everyone who's coaching in the EOAC is going to probably have narcolepsy by the time this girl is a senior in high school. There's going to be a lot of sleepless nights leading up to the days before you're playing Southern because this kid just, you can't stop her.
It's going to be nightmares. Nightmare scenario. You're going to hear Schroeds in your sleep. You're going to hear Ashley Schroeds for 2 in your sleep. And trying to game plan for this freshman is going to be a nightmare for the next 4 years. It's one of those, there's a couple of players in this area that you just don't want to game plan against, and now she's going to be a freshman coming up for the next 4 years. It's going to be another name that we're going to be hearing a lot. Yeah,
and she can hit a 3. She has a great inside presence. By the way, she knows how to shoot free throws. I would say that she's pretty good basketball player.
I haven't seen her in person yet. I'm excited to maybe try to catch a game that Southern's involved in and try to see her in person.
Well, now I want to see if Southern plays Leetonia in Leetonia. That is most definitely something that I definitely want to see, just to see what this freshman can do. And certain coach at a certain college in a certain city very close by might need to take a drive and see this kid play in the next couple of years. I'm just saying.
On Monday, Valley Christian girls ended a long winning streak for United to take the lead in the EOAC. So want to give props to them as well because United was on such a hot streak. And I think Valley Christian held them to 25 points.
Yeah, that was Valley is a very good basketball team.
Kristen Gill, she's one of those players in the EOAC.
Yeah.
That can really make people... There's some under the radar talent in the EOAC in girls basketball.
Well, I think the Division IV tournament, it's not cut and dry. I mean, look, McDonald and Western Reserve will be the 2 favorites for a lot of reasons. There's no 2 ways about that. But it ain't cut and dry because there's some good D4 teams, specifically in the EOAC, that when healthy they can play.
Everyone knows you have to have size to compete with those teams, or you have to have the attitude to push posts around because they both have really good inside games. Danny Volatich, Molly Howard. Everyone knows what McDonald and Western Reserve brings to the table and how to game plan that. But I think West Branch on Monday night might have given a little bit of a formula to try to stop Western Reserve because West Branch has, they don't have a tall girls necessarily, but they have a little bit of size. But they were super physical down low. But then they just put immense ball pressure on the guards. and made it almost impossible to even get an entry pass into Danny Volotich. So when you do that and then you rebound well, you're going to have a chance to get Western.
Well, and I think that especially if you have a disadvantage with height, you essentially need to play a triangle defense with 3 kids on the floor and the other 2 kids' responsibility, your 2 biggest kids. One is going to be in front of Danny and the other one's going to be behind her. So any pass, when Danny moves, like say she's the high post, 2 in between her. She goes low post. You're following every move. So you always have 2 players between that player that you're trying to guard.
And that's why they're so hard to beat, because when teams do that, they have shooters that can go and hit open shots.
And that's where you have to take your chances.
That's why West Branch, I think what they did really well is they just had one girl guarder, but I mean, they also had referees that were calling a like game on both sides, which I'm fine with, as long as you're even. You know, if you're going to call a light game, call a light game. If you're going to call a lot of fouls, call a lot of fouls, but do it even. So it was even both ways. They let both teams be pretty physical down low, and Sydney Mercer and Showalter and Gregory, all 3 of them down there did a pretty good job kind of making their presence known down in the paint with Danny Volotich and pushing around a little bit.
You and I talked a little bit about this about 3 weeks ago. The conference that West Branch is in, that's what they play. That's the kind of basketball that they play, and it's one of the reasons why, especially in boys basketball, you don't see one of those 2 teams, West Branch or Salem. The rest of the conference will join the YSN family if they haven't already. But West Branch and Salem are the 2 schools that we've been following, and you normally don't see huge tournament success because of the fact that this conference, specifically this conference, plays great physical basketball.
I mean, you look at for the boys' side, you look at their score, West Branch's scores. I don't think they've had a game where both teams are in 60.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 55-42, 55-43, you know, 50 to 46 to 30, you know. They are just a physical, defensive, and that's throughout the conference. Physical, defensive, hold teams down, slow the game down game.
Yeah, and if you can play physical without
fouling,
being physical in fouling, then you're going to be in great shape. The problem is if you're playing physical and you have officials that are going to call a game tight, oh, man, you're in all kinds of trouble.
Right, and that's what you got to get kind of lucky, too, and get the right refs that are going to call a light game. I think some refs go into a game like that where they know both teams are physical styles, and they might change their approach to say, I'm going to let a little bit more go because this is how these 2 teams play. Because referees know the landscape of basketball. They ref at different places, so they know what kind of styles each team likes to play. And I'm sure they kind of adjust to that accordingly.
Well, let me give a great example. I was obviously at Leetonia last night, the JV game. There's only 5 kids that play JV basketball at Leetonia. So if anyone fouls out, you're pretty much
4 on 5.
You're pretty much playing 4 on 5. None of those kids fouled out. None of those kids were even close to fouling out. And I think one of the reasons why was because the officials are looking at this and saying, "Oh, we only got 5 kids playing basketball. We're going to have to let these guys get away with a little bit more than what you would normally get away with. So we'll call the game maybe a little bit differently and go from there."
To be honest, I mean, we've both seen a lot of JV games. Referees tend to let stuff go in JV.
Sure.
Just because you want to kind of, the varsity coaches are putting pressure to kind of get this game over with so we can play and everything. So you don't see a lot of really tightly officiated JV games where they're both teams in the double bonus before halftime. But I have seen it, and it is kind of rough, but it doesn't happen a lot.
Well, a lot of those people are secret agents with YSN because we all want our games to start a little before 7 o'clock.
Let's go.
I'm just, sarcasm doesn't work on the radio and through the internet apparently, but I'm being a smartass right now. 330-886-0813. I got to ask you because it's been damn long since you've been here. What do you think of the 2-quarter JV games?
I know that there is a big attempt to get rid of them this year. That's why the quarter requirements were changed from 5 to 6.
Yeah.
So you could play more.
Yeah.
And be okay. but it still happens. And hey, it's better than not playing. I know there's a big movement to try to get rid of them with the quarter being extended, but it's better than not letting those kids play, not having a JV game. So I would rather a 2-quarter JV game than varsity only.
I just don't understand if you're planning on improving the game and improving the talent, you have to let the JV games go 4 quarters. There's no excuse for having a 2-quarter JV game.
If you just don't have the numbers. I mean, if both teams just don't have the numbers.
Yeah, then I understand that. But
and that's where most of the 2 quarters come from.
Yeah.
You just don't have the numbers.
Yeah.
And when that happens, like I said, at least you're getting those teams in a competitive atmosphere. They're getting the game experience. 2 quarters, you like to see it 4, but it's better than not being able to play a JV.
Well, and you brought up something interesting. You don't have the numbers. Okay, like I said last night, 5 kids on the JV team at Leetonia, and they're playing 4 quarters. Now, here's what I would do. I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm looking over at the other guy and I'm saying, look, I only got 5 kids. When one of my kids fouls out, ball game over. And just do it like that. Ball game over if one of my kids fouls out. So, you're playing basketball probably more than 2 quarters. I mean, let's be honest. If one of the kids fouls out before halftime, I get a serious problem with that.
I think that it's just a preference. Would you rather say we're just going to end it at an abrupt stage if some kid fouls out, or would you rather just say, hey, we're going to play 2 quarters, and then that way everyone knows when the game's going to end, and we can have the in-game situations. We can practice in-game 2-minute drills or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And we can do that. So,
I want to see these kids play as much basketball as humanly possible because of the fact.
We have to get the programs and the youth to get the numbers up in the high school.
Yeah, there you go. And in a perfect world, you not only have the 3rd and 4th graders playing, the 5th and 6th graders playing, your junior high program is stocked. You have a freshman team, which is separate from the JV team in a perfect world. Then you have a JV team, and then you have a varsity team. Now, that doesn't mean freshmen can't play varsity ball. If they're good enough to, okay, fine. But you have more freshmen to have a freshman-exclusive team than have a JV-exclusive team filled with sophomores, smattering of juniors, and then you have your varsity team with the best of the best, and that's how you have a program.
Right, and I think, I've been to multiple places. Numbers are up this year. It's a crazy season with COVID and everything. Numbers are down because kids are out because of quarantine or whatever it may be. So that's why we're seeing a lot of 2-quarter JV, no varsity only. But I think the rosters overall have been a lot bigger this year in the places that I've been to. A lot of more teams are having freshman teams, which is always good to see. South Range has a freshman team for the first time in a long time.
How many teams in the NE8s do we know offhand that have a freshman, exclusively a freshman team? I would be real curious. That's good.
South Range does.
All right.
I'm guessing I would be hard pressed to know that Struthers doesn't.
Okay.
So Struthers probably does. I don't know official, but Hubbard probably does. Girard's a little bit smaller, so I don't know if they do.
Because the advantages of having a freshman-only team are pretty big.
Right.
I mean, Heartland Christian, of all places in Columbiana County, they have a freshman team.
Right.
Now, their thing is, well, they don't have a football team, so all the boys are playing, at least perceived that all the boys are playing basketball. Now, literally not all of them are, but you're getting a lot more kids playing basketball, and because of that, they have a basketball program where you have junior high fully stocked, freshman team fully stocked, JV team fully stocked, and a varsity team.
I love watching Heartland's junior high.
Oh my God, they're good.
Their junior high programs are always so good, and unfortunately, there are kids that don't want to stay at Heartland, and then there are kids that do, but it always their junior high programs, boys and girls, are always like, wow, this team's going to be good in high school. And then you get into high school and 3 of those kids aren't on the roster. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. This is a team, and I'm very much pro EOAC. This is a team that should be in the EOAC as well. I'd love to see Heartland Christian in that league.
And it's a balance because you love to see them, but they also really benefit from that independent schedule.
Sure,
So,
and unfortunately, you have 8 teams in the EOAC,
right.
which obviously put
Nice,
a 9th team in there,
eight.
then it's uneven
you gotta
and
go
whatever.
get someone else.
You got to get someone else in there, exactly. But Heartland Christian, that's a fun basketball program, and it's turning into a program where they're going to be really dangerous. They're going to be really, really dangerous.
They got some talent on both sides, girls and boys.
Yeah.
We already talked about Maddie Matthews, who broke multiple school records yesterday. But, you talk about Berdovich on the other side. You talk about the other guys that they have on the Heartland boys team. And that team is not a team to be messed with.
No. I saw them play
You saw 'em
Crestview.
play.
It was a very physical game against Crestview. They're solid. They're a very solid basketball team. It's a testament to the school and a testament to the coaching staff. And they're D4, and we haven't talked very much about the D4 tournament, but and we're kind of partial because one of our guys is very up in the Lisbon coaching staff. Not that I would appreciate Lisbon being a Letonia kid, but neither here nor there. But Lisbon's tough, and McDonald is good, and Heartland is good. And I know I wouldn't want to play Letonia in the first round of the tournament the way they're playing now.
And when I was out, Ryan McCullough got his 1,000th points, so that's a notch for Lisbon because he's been lighting it up his whole career.
When he and Brownfield are on, oh my God, it's fun to watch those two kids go out.
If you're a Lisbon fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's fun basketball. And by the way, they got a freshman who everyone's going to know before too long because Mr. Sifke is very, very talented.
He's big.
Yeah, and he's big. And speaking of big, they have a enormous kid coming next year that was literally a man among boys in 7th grade last year.
Did you see it was a social media video of Kendrick Perkins' kid playing basketball? Like, he's like, Kendrick Perkins' kid's like 10 or 12 or something like that.
How big is he?
But he's like this, and he just rips this ball away from a kid. It goes out of bounds, and he's walking like. It was the best I've ever seen.
Is he tall like his dad yet?
I couldn't tell how tall he was. Taller than the other kids, but he was just built.
Yeah.
And he's.
Oh God.
Going on. I was like, that is so cool.
When LeBron was in Cleveland, my nephew was able to play AAU against Bron Jr. And I was like,
good luck.
What do you do with that? And he's like nothing. You just
watch.
let him do whatever the hell he wants to do. You can't stop the kid.
Here you go, sir.
Yeah, just take the ball right now. He goes, I know you're going to steal it from me. Here, let me give you the ball. 330-886-0813. Brian Tolnar, we'll be talking some PGA. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had him on. We had the 2 tournaments in Hawaii, and we will catch up with Brian. We also have Rob Schmidt coming on at 2 o'clock. Penguins, they're off to a slow start. Now, in fairness, and we've talked about this, Darius Quisenberry has not played in 6 of the 10 conference games, and that hurts. There's
that hurts.
No two ways about it. That most definitely hurts. And the Penguins' schedule was not necessarily a friendly schedule the first 10 games. Well, they've gotten past that. Now you have 8 of the final 10 conference games at Beagley. And whether Darius Quisenberry plays or not, it is time for the Penguins to get it rolling.
Well, yeah, and when you already are knocked out for as long as they were to begin the season, and then all of a sudden one of your best players is hurt, that's a double whammy. It's a double punch to the gut.
Yeah.
So you'd love to sit back and just say, hey, next man up. We gotta be Darren Quisenberry's down, but we have to play as a team. Which in a normal season, that's a perfect response, but when you've already been down so long and you haven't had a time to really play as a team and practice and get a lot of experience as a team in non-conference, it's a lot easier said than done when one of your stars goes down to just kind of regroup and regather as a team and play as a unit. So they're trying to figure that out.
Well, and the beautiful part of the NCAA giving everyone a repeat after this year. Would if the seniors want to stay one more year, everyone stays where they are eligibility wise. Love this.
Redo.
Yeah, it's a nice redo. Now, having said that, look, Penguins can get hot, and if they go 8 of their final 10 games, all right, now all of a sudden you go from 3-7 to 11-9. More importantly, you're playing well going into the conference tournament.
Get into the conference tournament feeling good about yourselves. That's all you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
And try to play well.
Win the conference and go to the NCAA tournament, which is all going to be in one city.
The women are in the same boat. They started out sluggish. You could tell they were a team that hadn't played or practiced in a long time, and were starting with Horizon League play. But they're starting to find their rhythm.
Oh, yeah.
And if they catch heat and then they get into that Horizon League tournament, both teams are going to be dangerous. We knew what both teams have. There's a reason they were so amped up before the season. So if they put it together right before Horizon League tournament, I don't think they're a team that anyone in that league should want to really offend with.
We're going to hear from Dre Smith tomorrow at 1 o'clock to talk women's basketball at Youngstown State. And they've won 3 in a row. And this, no disrespect to anybody in the conference, the softer part of their schedule is starting, which tells me that if the Penguins play really well, they're going to be moving up the standings pretty quickly.
Those games against Wright State were tough.
Well, yeah, Wright State's one of the elite teams in that conference. Oh, by the way, you got to start with them. And
right.
Oh, by the way, you haven't had any games, literally no games before this game. Good luck to you.
I can't remember their superstar. In the first game, the Penguins did a really good job keeping her quiet for most of the game. I can't remember. Angel Baker?
Yeah, Angel Baker. The 3-point maker.
Right. They did a really good job, bottling her up, especially in the first game. So that was a good thing to see. But, that's a tough team to open up against.
Yeah.
You're literally opening the season up against one of the best teams in the conference.
Yeah, and then Oakland the next week, and
Right.
you had all kinds of turnovers the first game, and the 3 games they were averaging 20-plus turnovers a game. You got to stop with it. You got to stop with the turnovers, and lo and behold, 4th game of the year, 12 turnovers. Penguins win, and since then they have not lost. So.
And in that first weekend, you called those 2 games. They were giving up turnovers, but they were also causing a lot of turnovers.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So it evened out.
Yeah, they were playing some solid defense, which is a John Barnes staple. You
Right.
have to be, in order to go to Youngstown State, you have to be really good defensively, and, you just have to be that high IQ caliber basketball player.
What I love about defense is it doesn't take a whole lot of talent to be a good defender. You just have to have the right mindset and the right effort.
That's it.
I mean, and that's all coaching, and that's all program building, and that's one of the things I like to see when they were opening, and obviously it was tough. I just like to see them play really good defense in those first 2 games. Whether they won or lost, the effort was there, and you could tell they bought into whatever Coach Barnes was selling for this season.
Yeah, and defense, if you play it well enough, you'll win a lot of games.
Right.
There's no 2 ways about it. All right, we're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we're going to hear from Brian Tolnar. It's the dead of winter here, but they're golfing in really, really nice places. They went from Hawaii, now they're going to go to the West Coast and come to California and play some golf.
Feels like we just did the Masters, but it's only like 2 months away.
Yeah, that's go figure. All right, Brian Tolnar coming up next. Stick around. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point. Anthony's in his Chiefs gear. I'm in my Bills gear.
Oh, man.
And we're going to have some fun at some point during today or tomorrow. We'll have some fun. Brian Tolnar coming up next.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley.
afternoon. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Hi, this is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource. We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. It is time to start talking some golf. Now, I know it's the dead of winter around here, but they are golfing in beautiful, sunny Southern California. So we bring in our PGA and golfing guru from Mill Creek, Mr. Brian Tolnar, joining me and joining Anthony on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Brian, top of the morning to you, sir.
Top of the morning. It's a good one. We finally hit the continental U.S. to start the official West Coast swing. So it's a great kickoff to the season here in the U.S. I mean, we had some events in Hawaii that just wrapped up, the Tournament of Champions, which was a limited field event, followed up by the Sony Open. A lot of guys, don't go over for some of those events, so it's nice to get the big names back, and as we hit the soil in California to get the PGA Tour season off and running. That'll start with some events in California. We'll go down to Arizona a little bit, and then back to California for the AT&T Pebble Beach, and then you'll hit the Florida swing here in about a month or so. So it's a great time for golf. And then we're a couple months away from talking about the Masters again.
All right, Brian, before we start talking about the particulars for the next couple of weeks, because we have you on every 2 weeks in our off season, getting ready for golf in the Mahoning Valley, I got to start talking a little bit about the health of one Tiger Woods. He recently underwent a 5th back surgery. Now, it's pretty well known that Tiger's game is violent in terms of how he turns his back when he's trying to get some extra sizzle on the golf ball, and when you do that for a large number of years, it tends to mess your back up. Tiger's undergoing his 5th back surgery. What does that entail, and what does that do for a golfer the stature of Tiger Woods?
Well, it does a couple things. Number one, it slows you down, limits your rotation as you come out of these surgeries. And if you were to look at Tiger's swing, in particular, starting when he came out on tour in around 1997, just seeing the length of his swing, got past parallel up at the top, shoulders width, compared to how it is in 2020 and 2018 after he came off after multiple surgeries. Now he's had a number of back surgeries. He's had, I think, 12 surgeries from what I could read up on it on the past probably 2 to 3 year stretch, and that's anywhere between back and ankle and knee and so on down the line. So anytime that you have surgery or anytime that you have any surgery that deals with the rotation of your spine around creating that golf swing, certainly limits the amount of rotation, which limits distances and so on down the line. So if you took a comparison shot of 1997 Tiger, where his club went well past parallel, to the Tiger of last year and the year before, and probably in 2021 when we see him, hopefully surface here in Florida for the Florida Swing, prior to heading to Augusta in Georgia for the Masters tournament, it's a lot shorter now, and it's gotten a lot shorter through the circulation of time. So I think number one, that limits you. Number two, the getting the rounds in tournament competition limits you too, and especially the short game. Not being able to chip and putt and mess around. Now he does have a great setup at his house, down in Florida, where he's got 3 holes built in his backyard, so he can do a lot of stuff in practice. But you are limited any time that you have, legs, hips, knees, back injuries, on what you're allowed to do in the rehabbing process and getting back to make sure that you're 100% when you do come back on the PGA Tour and play the types of schedules that he plays. So, having that is certainly a plus for him, but just a general feel of not being able to practice and spend the hours, the time that's needed to really shore up your short game and your pitch shots and your chip and runs and your putting and some bunker play. And it's the short areas from 50 yards and in, which will be a little bit rusty when he comes out of the gate. So, that is probably the biggest component. And, just like we've talked about in the past, all the guys on the PGA Tour are ready to win. It's just a matter of who's putting the hottest that week. They all hit the ball a mile off the tee. They're very good from tee to green, giving themselves birdie opportunities, but it's the guys that make the putts. Back in Tiger's heyday, he made every putt that he looked at, and that's, sort of tapered off a little bit, but, it's just the amount of time that, he just doesn't have to be able to practice. You can do the mental preparation and getting yourself ready for tournaments, but, having that feel, which is your short game, from a teaching perspective, it's the hardest challenge for us as instructors to teach feel. What's a good shot feel like? What's a good putt feel like? Those are the things that are going to be limited to him based on, the recovery time and the physical therapy time, getting himself back in high-level, tournament shape.
Well, I'm not going to speak for Anthony. I'll let him speak for himself. But I know that if I hit the Mega Millions on Friday, which is over $900 million, I'm certainly going to have an 18-hole golf course in my very large home that I'm going to build.
I would definitely build one for my dad. I don't know how much use I would get out of it.
Nice little cart path, so
yeah.
so you can do some stuff there. But no, I mean, I know I'd have a couple of holes in my front yard. I mean, what the hell? Seriously, you get a home, and oh, by the way, we're in my backyard. I'm gonna have a 400-yard par 4. And I'll go with a 180 par 3, and I'll have a dog leg because I don't want to interrupt Mr. Jones over there next door. So I'll have a dog leg. Yeah, it must be nice to have that kind of money.
There's no doubt. For him, any time that you go to a place, you practice and play, and they're members of private facilities down towards the Jupiter area anyway. I mean, you certainly have all the people that come up to you, so it gives them a little bit of a private practice area. I guess he's got like a par 3, a par 4, and a par 5 is what I've been told, and I guess they're pretty impressive. So I mean, when he's down, he really has some time to play. Doesn't have to leave the backyard, which is nice, especially try and spend some time with family, and you can go out and practice and not have to go anywhere and kind of hang out at your own crib, I guess. But it is different, and I think for him, talking to some of the folks at Bridgestone, and they kind of shared that with us the past couple of weeks because they sponsor him for the golf ball, and they knew that it was going to come, and they're hopeful that around or just prior to the Masters is when he gets back, depending upon how his physical therapy goes. So we have a little bit of insider knowledge there, so to speak. But hopefully we'll see Tiger back on the golf course because it's been a while since we've seen him out there, and he's wonderful for the game of golf and growing it and doing the things that we try to do here at Mill Creek on a local level, but at a national level, and getting viewership, and everybody wants to see him play. So there's a certain necessity to the game of golf, and we talk about tournament purses and stuff, and if you look at where some of these events were last year, pre-COVID, you're looking at $10 million purses, and I just was looking at the next two events, and I could see that they're 6.7 this week and then 7.6 next week. So they're down a little bit, and I think a little bit of that has to do with COVID. But anytime that you get Tiger in the field, that elevates pretty much everything. So it's a necessity that he gets back into the mix.
Brian, you've talked about the West Coast swing. This week we have the old Bob Hope Desert Classic. It's now the American Express tournament. Don't leave your putter home, or don't leave home without your putter, your driver, your 5-wood. That joke that got old, I guess. PGA West, La Quinta, California. They'll stay in Southern California. The Farmers Insurance Open, that was in San Diego. They'll go to Arizona and do the Waste Management Phoenix Open in Scottsdale, and that's a great course. And it's just some fun weather every year.
There's a poop joke sitting there in the Waste Management, but
I was gonna sit back and go. I was gonna sit back and go. The caliber of competition certainly isn't trash, but that we'll let that one go. The AT&T Pebble Beach Pro Am, and that of course is where Happy Gilmore got his ass kicked by Bob Barker, and that's always fun. And then the Genesis Open, Phil Collins may show up, may not show up. Okay, I dated myself that time. This will be in Pacific Palisades, California, before they head east. So you got some really good tournaments coming up, and Jim Nance, feel free to use some of the material that I just used.
Right.
You'll get immediately fired, but hey, that's all right. I'm trying for your job anyway, so it doesn't really matter. No, but in all honesty, there's some really, really good golf coming up in the western part of the United States before we get to the Florida Tour.
I'll tell you what, probably the part of the season that I get excited about watching, obviously the AT&T Pebble, Beach Pro-Am is a fun event. The Phoenix Open's another fun event. They go to Hollywood for the, at Riviera and play the Genesis Open. I mean, these events on the West Coast, if you are just recently got your PGA Tour card, you're exempt in all of these tournaments. They're usually larger fields playing at multiple venues. AT&T comes to mind. They'll use 3 courses in the rotation for that. This week they're using 2 with PGA West and the Nicholas Tournament course. Next week with the Farmers, they're using Torrey Pines North and South. So they're usually fields that are larger than you normally see on the PGA Tour. Normally they're around 140 to 156. 156 this week, and I think Farmers is probably double that because they're playing on 2 venues as well. Pebble Beach will get even larger, and then you add the amateurs in there, as you will have this week for a couple rounds at the what I call the Desert Classic, because that's what it's always been, the Bob Hope Desert Classic. You always think to that and throw back to that. So I mean, you're going to get all the young guys that have just come off the Korn Ferry tours that have qualified for the PGA Tour, the Webbs, and so on and so forth. You've got some veterans that'll play because Phil Mickelson, for example, lives in California. You'll get every tour player that plays in California that'll play in these 4 or 5 events. So the fields are usually very good. I think they have, I want to say 28 of the top 50 in this event. So I mean, you have some big sticks at this event and some big names. So it's worth watching. Plus, what I like about it is it's in prime time as well. You get to come home from work and then it's on until 8, 9 o'clock at night because they are playing in the West Coast. So there's some advantages of getting the game of golf out to the masses, especially with obviously one more week in the NFL, and then we have the bye week before the Super Bowl. It puts an emphasis on golf, going into the season, and then once the Super Bowl's over, we start talking a little bit about March Madness. They hit the Florida swing, and then all of a sudden, once March Madness is over, you're back in at the Masters, the first major of the year. So it's a great time frame for golf. Obviously, not looking outside the windows here in Ohio, looking at an inch of snow or 2 inches of snow wherever you live, puts a deflation to that. But I mean, hey, it's the second to last week in January. February, we knocked that out. It's a shorter month, and if it's like last year's weather, we were open the first week of March before COVID hit, and we shut down for 2 months. So I mean, you could literally get the golf courses back up in this region open, full swing, come that first week of March. So I mean, we're knocking on the door. New equipment's out there. There's a lot of exciting things going on in the golf world, with players changing equipment and sponsors, and our equipment's starting to roll in the shop here over the next week or two. The PGA show launches next week. So there's a lot of good things happening in the game of golf, and to be able to kick it off here in the continental U.S., which is the official start of the West Coast Swing at the American Express down in the desert, is an awesome feat for the game of golf.
Hang on, Brian. And just know I can still find my golf ball out there, so we're pretty good. No, I'm just wondering. We talked about Tiger earlier, and he continues to have a couple of health issues. He might be on the back end of his career, definitely on the back end of his career. It's no secret that even though there are rising stars in golf and there are people that people are getting excited about, players that people are getting excited about, the ratings and the excitement just are better when Tiger's in the field. Do you think there are talks in golf, and what's the plan when obviously there's no more Tiger excitement, and what kind of things we can do to try to grow the game and not have what happened a couple of years ago when Tiger was out and the ratings went in the toilet because there was just no excitement in golf? Do you think there are talks around golf about what we can do when Tiger has to kind of take a step back and we can still keep that momentum for the sport?
Well, I think, one of the things, obviously, the PGA of America's done, and they're obviously two separate entities. PGA of America and PGA Tour are two separate entities. However, they do have a couple events that they partner up with, the Ryder Cup, President's Cup, and PGA Championship. I think it's funny, if you look at all four majors in the PGA Tour schedule, none of them are run by the PGA Tour. You've got Augusta that runs the Masters. You've got the RNA that runs the British Open. The USGA runs the U.S. Open, and the PGA of America, runs the PGA Championship. So I think one of the things that the PGA of America has done extremely well in conjunction with some of these major events is, starting events like the Drive, Chip, and Putt, which is an event that we host here in PGA Junior League, to get kids earlier in their career as opposed to 12 or 13, 14 years where they've already committed to other sports. So I think having these programs over the past 4 or 5 years is certainly going to help keep the boom and keep the volume of golfers going post-Tiger Woods. I'm not sure, how much, if any, he would play on a senior PGA Tour once he turns 50. He is, I believe, 44 now, so, you're 6 years away from that. Phil plays a little bit out there now because he's eligible at 50. He started in the fall of last year. I don't see Tiger having anything to prove going into the senior tour other than to be a ceremonial guy. Back when Palmer and Nicklaus played the senior tour, they really started and launched the senior tour, and now it's basically Jack Nicklaus hasn't played an event in a number of years. Arnold Palmer played as long as he could play. You just don't have that notoriety, I want to say, going into the senior tour. Yeah, you've got some great guys coming up, the Mickelsons, Ernie Els, and so on down the line. So it's just a different ball game. So I think our key to keep the game going and to keep people interested in watching it on television, and certainly to keep purses at the 10 million mark for the week or 15 million based on if it's a major, is getting people involved and getting people involved to the point where they like the game and they will watch it on TV. Having that big name draw, there's still some great guys out there. The Ricky Fowlers, certainly draw a number of kids to the game, and it's certainly a help. Seth Curry, is a big proponent of PGA Junior League, and he's a spokesperson with Rory McIlroy. So to have them being involved in getting youth involved in the game, gets families involved in the game, makes it fun. Having that cross section certainly helps, but it's a generational player. The Tiger Woodses, the Jack Nicklauses, the Arnold Palmers, the Ben Hogans were in my thought process from the game of golf standpoint. There's always going to be little gaps here and there, but if you can talk on one or two hands the big-time players that won over 50 times, won a number of majors, based on what they do from a television standpoint and being able to let them compete at that high level. Tiger certainly brought a different elevation to the game. He brought in masses of people to the game. Obviously when he had some issues and that, his career started to taper off a little bit, the ratings went down just a bump. So, having things that draws families and kids into the fray certainly helps with the game's longevity. And that's the stuff that I'm excited about. And one of the reasons why we participate in a number of junior things and youth and high school events here at the golf course, because that's your next generation of customers. And if you don't do anything now, 10 years down the road is not going to look good. So all the hard work that we put in the last 5 or 6 years by running programs that we've run will continue to help us grow. When I'm in my latter part of my career, I'm 43 years old. I'm a year younger than Tiger, and got to watch him through junior golf and my junior career and through the PGA Tour on television. So, and I think a lot of people are intrigued by being able to watch him. But I think it's just a matter of, growing the game at an earlier level and keeping people focused on, hey, these are the stars of the game, and keeping them linked in. And I think, programs like PGA Junior League and Drive, Chip, and Putt certainly get you to that doorstep.
Brian, how important is it for the PGA Tour and just the PGA in general to work with golf courses like Mill Creek that have a really nice junior league where, and I don't think you can do this all the time, but have a veteran on the PGA Tour, a recognizable name, come into town for a weekend and have a clinic with the kids. How is that something that is somewhat doable where golf courses like Mill Creek can partner up with the PGA and the marketing department and have something similar to that, where a known PGA golfer comes into various cities and does for lack of a better term, a clinic?
I think from that perspective, you're more apt to be able to accommodate and attract, some of the players that were former players, because I think that they have some time to be able to do that. From a travel and a tournament standpoint with, the Tiger Woods, the Phil Mickelsons, the Rory McIlroys, to be able to do something like that, on a weekly basis or a couple times a year makes it tough just based on, hey, you're traveling on Monday, Tuesday you're getting your practice round, Wednesday you're in a pro-am, and then Thursday through Sunday you're there. One of the things I know the city of Greenville did when I was a kid, when they had the LPGA Championship, the Farmore, and the Giant Eagle here locally, is a couple of those pros that missed the cut on Friday did what they called, I think it was Greenville City or the Chamber of Commerce in Greenville, PA, put on an exhibition where they invited 4 golf professionals from the LPGA Tour to go out and play and do like a little skins game. So I think those things are doable in cities that host or nearby cities that host PGA or LPGA events. But the schedules that those guys have, going from week to week, tournament's over on Sunday. If you got a flight out Sunday night, that's great. Or if you got a private plane and you're in that top echelon, yeah, you can leave Sunday night and be home Monday. Most of the players have a layover and they're flying out on Monday. It clogs their schedule up. I know they don't play for consecutive weeks, but you do have to have a little bit of a rest in there. And I think being able to do something with a former player, it could be, a Jerry McGee or, something that has a local tie, or, Jason Kochrack, 20 years down the road when he's retired, and, either playing the Champions Tour and there's not so many events week in and week out. I think you do have the potential of being able to do something like that. Some of the events do events like that. I know when we did our PGA Championship up in Rochester, when I was up there, even the senior PGA Championship that they hosted, they would have about 4 or 5 of the pros come over and do a clinic in conjunction with the sections pros, which would be, in our case, the Northern Ohio PGA or the Western New York PGA, where you get 30 guys helping to do a clinic with 600 kids, throughout the course of 8 o'clock till about 5 in the evening, and then a pro would come in and talk to the kids every hour about different things, whether it be a short game or just life in general. So I think that there are opportunities, and I think that they take advantage of those by being in those cities that have events like that. for us, it's a little bit tougher because there's, the closest one to us would be like Firestone. And, since they don't really have that anymore, you're less apt to get a guy that would travel down here to do anything. Plus, it would cost you, a little bit of money to do that. But, I mean, it is a unique idea, and I think it would be a good tie, for the kids. But, those events also do make free tickets for Boys and Girls Club and, First Tee of America and all of that stuff, too. So they are doing their part in charities, and I think to my knowledge, the last time that I checked, over the past probably 8 to 10 years, I think the PGA Tour is the number one giver to charities nationwide out of any major sporting organization in our country. So, I mean, they do a lot. Could they do more? Could they do unique stuff? Yeah, it would be cool to do that, and there's no doubt about it.
Well, you watch a lot of youth golf and junior golf, and I'm wondering, we all saw what Tiger Woods' son was able to do on the golf course not too long ago. You think in the not-so-distant future we could see Tiger Woods, the next generation?
I'll tell you what, it would be cool. I mean, there's a unique storyline with that. There's no doubt about it. And, like anything, I mean, it's hard to get your kids to follow in your footsteps. That's what Dad does as a job. So, I mean, it's a job as you're a kid growing up. Yeah, it's nice to be able to see him go out and play. And I know he plays in some, what do I want to call it, some U.S. kids tournaments in Florida. And I know some parents that have had kids, participate in his kids playing, and they said he's really good. And Tiger's there, either caddying for him or, they're watching him play. So it's nice to see that. Will he get to Tiger's level? He certainly has the pedigree for it, and the vision of seeing how hard his dad practices and what it takes to do what he needs to do on the PGA Tour, especially with his last win, at the Masters. I mean, other than that, he really hadn't had the chance to see his dad play, with injuries and the issues that, Tiger's had, on and off here and there. His kids were little. Now they're getting to the point where they can start playing, and it would be awesome to see him, to be able to participate at that high level. I mean, you look at Jack Nicklaus's kids. He had, one kid that Gary played reasonably well and come close to winning a tournament on the PGA Tour. It's a tough scenario. There's no doubt about it. Having a dad that's played, and obviously, finances are there too. I mean, I think Tiger Woods' kids are set, and his kids is set. So, based on what he's been able to do from an endorsement standpoint and just in his career in general. So, it's certainly tough shoes to fill. It'd be cool to see, whether it happens or not. I don't know. I mean, if Tiger's anything like any other parent, they're like, they want to see their kids figure out what they like and kind of go there. Whether it be golf or whether it be football, basketball, baseball, you name it down the line. So, yeah, it would be neat to see.
Brian Tolnar, our guest on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. We are talking golf PGA Tour this weekend. La Quinta, California is the place. Let's talk a little bit about the American Express. Used to be known way back in the day, and I'm dating myself, the Bob Hope Desert Classic. And if you were fortunate enough to see Bob Hope, the comedian, try to golf, that was funny in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely. I think, back in that era, that generation, you look at, Bob Hope, you look at Bing Crosby with the AT&T Pebble Beach, Pro-Am. You had Jackie Gleason had events. You had a number of guys. Andy Williams had an event. I mean, it was, something that the celebrities did back in the day. Having that piece of history and tying the celebrity portion into the game of golf, I think, is great for the game of golf. Heading down to the desert, we're playing 2 courses this week, which is kind of unique of itself. PGA West has 72 holes there. They're going to use 2 of the courses. They're going to use the stadium course, and they're going to use the Nicklaus tournament course this week. Both measure in about 7,200 yards. And if you go out in the desert, the ball tends to travel and carry a little bit further, so they'll play a little bit shorter. So you'll see a lot of eagles on par 5s this week, and players getting close to par 4s with their tee shots. So, heading into a tournament that used to be 90 holes, they changed the event format a couple years ago to 72 holes, which is a traditional event, Thursday through Sunday. They did a competition for 90 holes where they'd have a cut after 54. They'd play 3 courses and then finish up on the weekend. A little bit tough for some of the players to be able to commit that many days to a tournament, so they changed it and adjusted that a little bit. Previous record at 90 holes was 36 under. New tournament record was set in 2014 by Patrick Reed at 28 under. It was the 2014 champion. I think you'll probably see somewhere between 22 to 26 under win the tournament this week, and could very easily challenge the 28 under record in 2014. So, anytime that you head to the desert and you head to an event that has a number of celebrities to it. I mean, you look at, back in the day, Frank Sinatra played there, Gerald Ford, Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush. They had a number of presidents that played in the field. Jimmy Fallon plays there. Samuel L. Jackson will play in the Pro-Am this week. It's just great for the game of golf to have that cross-section. It started back when Eisenhower was the president. He was the first to play in a Pro-Am event on the PGA Tour. And, his name is synonymous with the Augusta National Golf Club. I think he was one of the few presidents that have been a member there and had the opportunity to play. But a number of celebrities will be in the field this week. It's a tournament that's hosted generally by a celebrity itself. Bob Hope, up until, I want to say, 2009, 2010, his name was stamped on the event from the 60s and late 50s. George Lopez, when Chrysler sponsored it, was their tournament chairman for a while. Arnold Palmer, was the chairman for the 50th anniversary. And then Yogi Berra was served as a ambassador of the event. In the past couple of years, Phil Mickelson has picked up that host, along with his foundation. The Mickelson Foundation is actually the organizer of the event this past year and this year. So, you still have that celebrity feel to it. Both golf courses that they're going to play this week have been in the rotation. One, started in 2016 with the Nicklaus Tournament course, and the PGA West course has been in the rotation since 1987. So, it's an event that these guys continue to play year in and year out on the PGA Tour. So they're very familiar with the golf course and how it's played and the nuances of it because it's been in the rotation for so long. So it's nice to be able to see that. The Palmer West course was designed by Arnold Palmer, who spent a lot of time in the Coachella Valley. Coachella Valley. Hard for me to say.
I was hoping that you would get the pronunciation right. That's solid of you, Brian, to get that.
The Coachella Valley. But Palmer spent a lot of time out there with Bob Hope and some of the celebrities, and has had a number of great years, and obviously set the tournament record there in 1960. His first paycheck there, how about this one? $15,000. So way different than it is, these past probably 10 to 20 years through the PGA Tour. Ironically, an event that Tiger Woods has never played in. So probably one of maybe 2 or 3 events that you can count on one hand that he's never participated in, especially coming from California and growing up relatively close to that area. So, with that being said, a lot of great golfers in the field this week. Like I said, we had 28 of the top 50 in the mix, and I think you're going to see a great weekend of golf. And I think you're going to have some big names in the mix when it's all said and done.
You made a mention of the number of former presidents that have been very good and have played an awful lot of golf. And being that today is Inauguration Day, we now have the 46th president of the United States that just got inaugurated an hour or so ago, and Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. I have no idea if Biden golfs. Now, obviously, the last 2 presidents, Donald Trump and Barack Obama, have both have spent some time on the golf course. I have no idea if Joe Biden can golf. I don't know if that's something that he has been known to do prior to him being president. Brian, do you know anything about if Biden plays golf at all?
Brian, if you know this, I'm going to tip the hat to you because you'll be the insider info on the president's golfing.
Yeah, and I feel like we should be humming "Hail to the Chief" when you start on the scouting report of Joe Biden's golf game here.
Well, I know they went back, president-wise, like Taft and Cleveland and all of those guys played. And Eisenhower probably the most synonymous because he played a great deal when he was in. Of all the presidents, I think he played the most out of anybody, and obviously was a member at a few clubs. very close friends with Arnold Palmer. And he would fly up to Latrobe and play, and Palmer would fly down and play with him quite a bit. The Bushes were tied in with the United States Golf Association. I think George H.W.'s grandfather, Prescott Bush, was the president of the USGA at one time, or had an association with the United States Golf Association at one time. So they've had generations of golfing members. Barack Obama played a ton. Donald Trump played a ton as well. Joe Biden, I've seen some pictures of him playing golf, but I don't know anything about how he plays, where he plays, or any of that. Going back to when Obama was the president and he was the vice president, I don't recall seeing him participate in anything, or other than if you did a Google search. I mean, I think you can probably get a picture or two of him playing golf somewhere. I don't know that he plays that often, if he does play, and they certainly don't publicize it for whatever reason. Even when he was vice president, I don't. It's not like him and Barack went out and played and there's pictures of him. Every time that I look, Obama was always out, sort of playing by himself or with a group of, some people that, were in his inner circle. But I mean, I don't recall having seen a lot of information on him playing golf, or knowing that he has a handicap, or how good of a player or how bad of a player he is. So, that's a very good question. I know I've seen a couple pictures of him online, in a golf cart and stuff with clubs on it, but I don't know how often and how he plays.
I would be real curious if he wants to learn the game of golf. I mean, obviously this is up your alley. You are a teacher by trade. How the heck would you teach the President of the United States golfing?
I did work for a guy back when I first started in the golf business that was back in his early time frame. He was an assistant golf professional at La Jolla Country Club, and Spiro Agnew. It was the guy that he gave lessons to. He would fly out and get lessons at La Jolla, and he said Nixon would come out there and play every once in a while too. But he basically gave lessons to Spiro Agnew. So I mean, there's I'm not sure how you would tackle that based on if he plays, what steps were needed, or all the protocols that you would need there. But I mean, it would certainly be great for the game of golf to have a president that plays, just because they drive people to the game as well. And I think having that outdoor activity and recreational opportunity for them to have a peace of mind, to not have to be in that vicious cycle of Washington, D.C. and living and breathing politics 24/7. Being able to go to a golf course and relax and not think about work, I think is great for the spirit for a person. So, that's certainly a good one. But I don't know how well or what frequency he plays, but it would be good to see if he does.
All right, Brian, let's get to the particulars. This week, the American Express. Who are some of the guys that you are keeping an eye on this weekend?
I think if we're going to go with top 5 this week, I'm going to start it off with John Rahm. He's the 2014 tournament champion there. He's got a number of top 10s. He's got the tournament record down there at the desert. So I think, he's certainly a birdie machine. He carries the ball a long way. With the altitude and stuff, the ball's going to carry a little bit more, heading into the desert. Although it'll be a little bit cooler in the mornings and late in the latter parts of the evenings, because it normally heats up from, I want to say, about 10 to 4, 10 to 5 o'clock in that window, and then it starts to tear off both sides. So if you have a good, pairing or good tee time in the 10, 11 o'clock window, I think you're always going to play with the warmer air, so the ball's going to fly a little bit more. And I certainly think that that'll affect him and letting him vomit even further than he does off the tee. So he's going to be our pick for the week. Coming in second is going to be Webb Simpson. I think he's had a great 2019 and 2020 season. I think that starts and kicks off for him in the desert as well. Jason Duffner, a guy that we really haven't talked about for a while. He hasn't done much since his PGA championship win a few years ago. He certainly has a good scoring average out there at PGA West. I think he's averaging a hair under 68. So I think if he puts a couple rounds together, he's going to be there. He's certainly going to be in the mix. Another past champion as well. And then Patrick Reed. I think coming off a good tournament and several good seasons on the PGA Tour. 2016 champion as well. I think he's got some local knowledge out there, and I think he could do well. And our fifth in our top 5 this week is going to be Phil Mickelson. It's going to be his first tournament back. He's slim and trim, and I think he's ready to do some damage on the PGA Tour. He's got his body in shape, picked up some distance with the new Callaway driver. And I think being a 2-time champion there, I think he was either the runner-up last year or the year before. Tournament host, other than that being a little bit of a setback, he's got some other duties to do just besides play. I think he'll definitely be in the mix this week and always tends to play well in Pro-Ams. He plays good there, and he plays good at the AT&T Pebble Beach, which I think he's won about 5 times. Has about 3 or 4 runners-up. So, I mean, it's in his backyard. He lives right there. I think it's certainly a good venue for him, and a couple wild cards will be some guys that we don't talk about too often, Maverick McNeely and Brian Harmon. I think both of those guys could add some spirit to the leaderboard at the end of the weekend.
Patrick Reed, his first tee or first hole is going to be a 1040, so it kind of does fall into that line. I was trying to figure out your top 5 and how many of these guys were going to be golfing around that time. I see Jason Duffner and Charles Howell III are going to be golfing at 10:50, so that's close to that time period as well. It's a loaded field. There's no two ways about it. There's a lot of golfers that are going to be golfing. Now, Jason Kochrack, he spent 2 weeks in Hawaii. He's taking this week off. Not sure if he's going to be golfing next week, but he tends to do extremely well on the West Coast.
He does well. He does good at Torrey Pines, which is the host of the Farmers next week. He does really well at the Genesis Open at Riviera. He's had a couple shots of being able to win that at Riviera, and I think he's definitely going to be in the mix there. Pebble Beach, he's kind of up and down there, but I would definitely say Phoenix Open, if he plays, he would be another formidable candidate because he can bomb the ball and overpower that golf course, which, if you look at J.B. Holmes, Bubba Watson, even the times that Phil Mickelson won down there, he was really driving the ball far, really overpowering that golf course. Jason's got a game that is equal to that, where he can, take advantages of cutting some corners and reaching some par 5s and some longer par 4s with a shorter iron, especially at Riviera. He played extremely well, and I think he was within a shot or two 4 or 5 years ago of coming in first and getting his first victory. Now with a win under his belt, he's certainly going to be a major contender as he goes back there, and especially with the number of rounds and reps that he's had on these tournaments now, having 4 or 5 years under his belt on the PGA Tour. It's a big deal. The more time that you can spend out there, the better your odds are at getting a win. And he put together some good rounds in Hawaii too. I think he opened up with 62 last week and didn't follow it up good on Friday. But he's definitely capable and can show in his game that he can go low when he needs to go low. And I think that's going to be a big motivation factor for as he gets his West Coast swing here in another week or so.
I'd hate to ride your coattails, but John Rahm's a guy I've won a couple of times with last season, so I'm going to ride with John Rahm, and that's going to be my first pick for the picks this season.
And he's hot right now too.
So I have to make a pick here. Oh boy. Hang on a second. Let me quickly do something here.
Cue the Jeopardy theme.
Yeah, cue the Jeopardy theme. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, an under the radar guy.
Yeah, I'm going to go Scotty Scheffler. I like his game, and we'll see what transpires there. Hey, before
he almost snuck into my sleepers this week. He almost stuck in there.
Okay, well, I'm awaking the giant here, so we'll see if Scotty and knowing my luck, he's probably going to miss the damn cut. So there you go, Brian. Before we let you go, and obviously it's the dead of winter around here, but we've had some tips where you have to keep your equipment inside, make sure it's not cold. What are some things that golfers can do right now? And obviously you always take your putter out and put a glass or a glass down and try to put the ball through the glass and hopefully don't break the dang thing. But
Trick shots are great for the winner.
Yeah, this is true too. What are some of the things that a golfer can do right now to try to keep sharp?
I think, anything that has to do with workouts that are related to your core and your midsection from your knees to your belly button. That's the core of your golf swing. It's the biggest rotation of your muscles around your spine. I think hitting a treadmill, keeping your legs in walking shape. Any time that you don't do too much over the course of the winter from an exercise standpoint, it really puts a dagger on coming out in the spring. Your first 2 or 3 rounds or first couple weeks of rounds get to be a little bit sluggish because you're out of gas by hole 6 or 7 if you're playing 9 holes, or 14 or 15 through 18. Your feet are tired, your legs are tired. Walking on the soft ground in the spring wears you out. To me, it equates to, anytime that you walk on the beach, it's a lot harder to walk on the beach than it is pavement. Just because you're sinking and there's a lot of compression to it. You have to work twice as hard. Your muscles have to work twice as hard. So I think if you keep your feet, your ankles, your knees, and your legs in shape by hitting a treadmill or hitting an elliptical or a lateral thigh trainer, anything like that is key right now to keeping yourself in shape. And it keeps your legs strong. It takes some pressure off your back, which is generally what happens to people when they come out at the beginning of the year. Their back tends to be the brunt of it. We talk about anytime that you lift stuff up, making sure you use your legs and your knees and your lower body to help you lift something up, as opposed to just lifting it up with your back. Same theory applies in golf. You want to make sure that you're using that core, you're using that lower body, because it's going to take all the pressure off your back for longevity. So I think anything that you can do, keeping your lower body in shape, I think is key. Swimming is the ideal thing you could do because it works all of your muscles and it keeps your core in shape, and it's good for your cardio. So I think if you do any of those items, I think you're going to come out in a month from now and you're going to hit the ground running like you were, 4th of July weekend into the heat of the golf season. You're going to be ahead of schedule, which is key.
You made mention that equipment is starting to come into Mill Creek. So in our waning moments, let's talk a little bit about the kind of equipment you guys are going to be selling to the public here pretty soon in the pro shop.
Well, we've got some of our demos have already come through the door. We're not allowed to show those until Monday when they officially launch at the PGA Merchandise Show, which this year is going to be virtual, which is different for us. To spend 8 hours on a computer virtually for a week when you're there physically seeing and touching the equipment, it's going to be a little bit different. From our standpoint, we just received, as we're talking, I'm looking out at FedEx is carrying in about 10 boxes of clothes. Clothing will change as well. For us here, we spend probably the next 2 weeks cleaning and getting the golf shop up and running. Our goal is to always have it filled and ready to go by March 1. So that means all the equipment, the carpet cleaning, and all of that stuff will get done over the next 2 weeks. And then we'll start doing our displays and so on down the line. Clubs are going to be big this year. The technology that's in the Callaway Epic driver that's coming out is fabulous. I've had the opportunity to hit it, and it's really, really good. New Apex irons by them and a new Odyssey putter line by them as well. Bridgestone's got a new dimple pattern on their golf ball. They're usually pretty solid in creating a golf ball. That's their bread and butter from a company standpoint. Titleist has a update to their Pro V. We'll have those here probably the first or second week in February, as they're going to come out, I think, after the PGA show is concluded. But you're going to see a lot of stuff on the Golf Channel. You're going to see a lot of advertisements this week over the course of the next month. You're going to see a lot of players playing different stuff. You're going to see new staff bags out there, new color schemes, new clothing. Any of the times that we go to the PGA show, for example, if you go to the Nike booth, just using that as an example, you'll get to see what Tiger's wearing at all 4 majors. They've got his clothes from Wednesday to Sunday. So, it's neat to be able to see those things. How well we'll be able to see them, or if you'll be able to see them virtually, is going to be a little bit different. Being able to do a demo day at the PGA Merchandise Show, and basically they spend the Tuesday of demo day week, or the merchandise show, of basically testing out everybody's equipment, everybody's irons, wedges, putters, hybrids, you name it. We spend the course of about an 8-hour day, looking at the technology, seeing what the results is on the launch monitors and the unique things coming out. Anything that you can think of is down at this show this week coming up, and then we also do some PGA teaching and coaching seminars down there and some continuing education, which now will be virtually as well. So it's going to be different, but it's an exciting time because everything's coming out, and you're going to start to see, what the prototypes of the pros were playing in the fall and what they're going to launch this spring for the general public. So it's definitely exciting times. The technology year to year just keeps getting better and bigger, and people are hitting the ball further and further and further, which is a help to everybody, especially an amateur golfer.
Brian, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Anthony. Have a good week.
You too, brother.
Great to hear from you, Brian.
You too.
All right, Brian Tolnar. While he was speaking, you got some breaking news coming out of YSU. And actually, it's not Youngstown State that's breaking this news. It's Louisiana State University that's breaking this news. As everyone knows, my buddy is Alan Dunn. He's the pitching coach at Louisiana State University. He just texted me and said, hey, did not know if you were aware of this, but we're playing Youngstown State this season. And I was looking at the schedule, and at the time of the date that he's saying, February 26th, 27th, and 28th, it's supposed to be Nichols State, and it is Nichols State on the YSU schedule, Thibodaux, Louisiana. And then he just said, got the information today. I know there was talk yesterday after we found out that one of our teams had to cancel, so not sure if it's been announced yet. So there you go.
Wow.
There you go. So that's
when you lose one SEC team.
That's something that could very well
hop onto another.
Could very well be happening. So that I'm curious. That would be a great thing if it is official. That would be a great thing. So
YSU fans in Baton Rouge have been down there for softball. That's a great campus down there. And if you're going to make the trip, if you can make the trip. It's a great place to be. You got to go to the everyone likes Cane's now because they came in here last year.
Yeah.
The original building for Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers in downtown Baton Rouge.
It's a very interesting city.
It's also, I think it's got the tallest state capital of any state is in the capital of Louisiana, which is Baton Rouge. So I think that those are some tidbits I got while I was down there.
Yeah.
Very hard to hit home runs in that place because for some reason the wind in Baton Rouge is just different. In the softball.
Well, there's a lot of things different in Baton Rouge.
you ask both the softball and baseball teams, they just go, I can't explain it, but it's just harder to hit home runs in the stadium than anywhere in the SEC.
The wind comes in. Right. It doesn't go out. It's always coming in, which is when the architects are building a stadium, the first thing that they're supposed to do is, okay, where does the wind normally generate? Does it go out? Because that's 99 times out of 100. That's where you want to build your stadium, in a wind that's in a facility where the wind is going to be blowing out. For some strange reason, the wind rarely blows out at Baton Rouge. Hence the reason why pitching is so important there.
It's exciting because you got connections to the baseball team. I've got connections with the softball team.
And so it's a fun city.
It's a fun place to be at.
It is. It's a fun city. So hopefully that is going to be.
We also have some local breaking news.
Yes.
Lowville boys basketball is going to be quarantined. They had to shut down today. So got the win last night against Columbiana. I'm told that Columbiana will be unaffected by it, but as far as we know, Lowville is going to be shut down on the boys' side of the program.
Well, this is the first time for the boys, but the Lowville girls were shut down about the same time you were shut down.
Right.
The Lowville girls program was shut down as well. And, unfortunately, in all of this, it's going to hamstring your program. And it hamstrings the programs that are now, and I don't know who Lowville was supposed to play in the next 2 weeks, but those teams are now going to be searching for whether it be a non-conference game or any kind of a game to play to keep their kids sharp.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a lucky thing that the Columbiana won't be affected, because that would also, usually you see teams that played them the night before, played them that week, they go, well, we have to shut down too because of contact tracing. But for one reason or another, Columbiana has told us that they're going to be safe and good. So at least Columbiana, who played Louisville last night, will be okay to keep going.
And how far back do you go? I mean,
Right.
This is where I'd love to talk with
That's the thing,
with a
because,
quote COVID expert.
That's the thing, because when I had, like I said, there were 3 days where I wasn't anywhere, so I couldn't have gotten it at home.
Yeah.
So there were at least 3 days where I had COVID but didn't have symptoms.
Yeah.
So you just never know how far back you can go.
I mean, do you go back to Friday's opponent if Louisville played on Friday? Do you go to those guys and
I
say,
think those
hey,
guys are probably hey, let's get tested, make sure that everyone's safe, and because I don't know the whole protocol of contact tracing, but I'm sure that their Friday opponent, maybe even their last week Tuesday opponent, might be just on a little bit more high alert.
Yeah, it's certainly something where you're scratching your head and going, okay, how do we go about this? How are we going to do all of this stuff? Man, that's one of the many reasons why this has been a weird season. But knock on wood, so far so good. Everything's worked out.
Here come the ADs on the phone though, like, hey, we had Louisville, we don't anymore. Let's try to pick up a game or something.
Yeah.
ADs are making their money this basketball season.
Well,
We've said that many times.
And I hearken back to the recently retired athletic director at Leetonia. He had everything for the whole year perfect. So when Bob Beam came in as the new athletic director at Leetonia, he didn't have to do anything. I mean, the football schedule was done, the junior high, the junior varsity, the varsity basketball, boys and girls, done. The spring schedule teams, done. Everything was done.
And the universe said, you are not going to be lazy.
Yeah, and it's like, you are going to make some money, sir. Where's the James Earl Jones voice? You are going to make some money this year, sir. The hell with those schedules. You'll get your own schedule. Lordy. Speaking of schedules, we're right on schedule. Rob Schmidt will be coming up in a little bit. We'll talk about the YSU basketball program. They are home for 8 of their final 10 games, and fingers crossed they get on a roll and get it together before the tournament starts and have a good old time with that, as we're down to our final 10 games of the season, which haven't had much of a season this year. But the
final 10 games, we're sitting here like, what?
Yeah, and I was like, wait a second, it hasn't even started yet. What the hell's going on here? It's kind of like you're going on your favorite ride, and it lasted like 15 seconds.
Especially because the anticipation of getting up to the top of the hill.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're on a roller coaster, and you're just like, what? It's done already? What the hell? Come on. So we'll talk with Rob Schmidt and get his comments. Over the weekend, YSU losing to Oakland, and again, games 5 and 6 without Darius Quisenberry, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Darius will be back in the lineup very, very shortly. All right, take a timeout. Be back in a little bit. It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at bairdbrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Local teams are heating up the hardwoods, and you can keep up with all the action on and off the court with Five Guys Hoop News all season long on 21 Sports.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. And let's talk some YSU men's basketball with the voice of the YSU men's basketball program, Rob Schmidt. Mr. Schmidt, sir, how are you today?
Well, we're a day closer to a weekend full of doubleheader basketball.
Indeed. The YSU men and women home on Friday and Saturday. This is the second of 3 times where the men and women are going to be home at the exact same time. Friday and Saturday, the women will tip off at 2, and Friday and Saturday, the men will tip off at 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's good to be home, and you know, you and I have talked about it before. And as the men begin the second half of league play, the schedule flips, and they get to play 8 of 10 at home starting this weekend, which will begin a 4-game series. And, you know, UIC comes to town, and it's a team that's been really beaten up by COVID and injuries. But they're coming off a 2-game sweep of Robert Morris. But they've been a team right now that, you know, they've won 2, lost 2, won 2, lost 2. So they just won 2, so let's hope they lose 2 here this weekend.
Yeah, and the schedule, or I should say the standings, and not exactly where we thought Youngstown State would be after 10 games. But again, the 8 of the final 10 games are at home, and if the Penguins catch fire, that's exactly where you want to be, hitting your stride come tournament time.
Well, this whole thing, as we've talked about, you know, this whole season, because of COVID and the injuries that the YSU men have had to endure, it all comes down to playing your best basketball in February, because the tournament's going to be really wide open. You know, obviously Cleveland State leads the league right now, and they've been impressive at 9-1, but I still think there's a lot of naysayers that they're going to win the whole thing. They may very well win the regular season championship, but I don't know. You know, I think there's still a lot of people who are skeptical that they can win the tournament. I think Wright State's probably still your best team. They've just been very inconsistent like YSU. You know, for Wright State, you know, they've lost 2 Friday night buzzer beaters, and then they turn around and blow you out the next night. They blew Oakland out by 40 and then lost the next day by 10. So I still think Wright State's the team to beat, but obviously they've shown that they're very inconsistent, and you can beat them on any given night. And I think that's where our guys are at right now. I think they feel that if they can become healthy and get up to full speed, that they can be a very dangerous team by the end of February come tournament time. And it's primarily because these freshmen are starting to mature really quick.
And me and Ron talked about it before we had Brian Tolner on at 1. We kind of previewed this discussion. You know, Quisenberry's been down for 6 games, right? Or is this going to be the 6th, Ron?
This will be the 6th.
Okay, so,
he missed the last 5 in a row, but he also missed the opener against Point Park.
In a normal season, the response would be, okay, next man up. You got to kind of play as a team. You're more than one player. But in this season, when you were down for as long as you were and you kind of had to start late, you didn't have a lot of time to practice as a team. So having that mentality, next man up, play as a team, is kind of harder to expect from YSU when one of the players as important as Darius Quisenberry goes down. What kind of things do you I mean, you got to adjust on the fly, but you got to think when he comes back, it's going to be a different look Penguins team.
Well, and I think what you're also going to see in addition, when DQ returns, and I don't know the timetable on that, but I know they're excited about getting Grayson Kelly back, the graduate transfer from Shaw University, and he can shoot. He's got pretty good range. But the thing I think that they want from Grayson is that experience. He'd be a graduate transfer, so he's gone through college basketball, albeit at the D2 level, but he still knows his way around the court. He knows where to be. He just adds a little bit of leadership on that floor. Another guy that you got to be, concerned with when he steps out on the floor, and that's what they're seriously missing. They've got their seniors in the big three between Akuche, Covington, and Bohannon, but you missed that leadership. Grayson would have given them. Darius would have given them. Even Jameer Thomas would have given them. So, the freshmen, and you start to see some of these guys emerge now. A Miles Hunter, who was just named Freshman of the Week in the league. Alex Varga, who's been fearless so far in his freshman year. I think, the guy that Ron loves, Jake Traore, I think, he could be in line for some more minutes in the second half of the season because UIC is a big team. They're not as good in the backcourt as they were a year ago. They had the three best guard rotation in the league last season. Now they rely more along size. So you might see, a bigger lineup on the floor this weekend.
Should be an awful lot of fun this weekend with UIC in town. UIC 4-2 in the league, 7-4 overall. This has just been a weird year this year around the league. I mean, Northern Kentucky was supposed to be a top 3 team. They're 3-5 in the league, 5-8 overall. The NCAA, and I think a genius move, which I don't say genius and NCAA in the same sentence very often, but a genius move in that the NCAA said, hey, win, lose, or draw this year is a gimme year. Next year, everyone, if the seniors want to come back, if everyone wants to come back, come one, come all, you get to play like this year didn't happen. And I think as we go into this season, there's a lot of teams that are very thankful for the mulligan right now.
Well, and I think we're one of them. I think before the season would have started, I think YSU was prepared to go into this year and really, on paper, because of the experience returning, I think they felt they were, they had a couple of steps ahead of the rest of the field that had some question marks with, through loss of graduation or through the loss of transfers, and we felt that, moving into next year, with everybody having the ability to come back, that would allow the field to kind of gain some ground on YSU. Well, now, you get an opportunity. These freshmen, this is all gravy for them. It's all an opportunity to give them a year to learn under fire. And Greg Campy said that last week in Oakland. His point guard, Jalen Moore, who's a junior college transfer and has played very well, very quickly for Oakland, he gets to learn Campy's system and still now has 2 years left. So it really kind of changes the dynamic of a team. I still think you're going to see some guys opt out next year that could come back. And I'm not just saying here at YSU, but across the board. Some guys just feel it's time to move on. Maybe they want to go play overseas. Maybe they want to start, getting into the real world. So there will be some guys that will opt out that won't take that extra year. But for like our freshmen, this is gravy. It's you could see some guys, should everything stay intact by year 3 and 4, really start to make, some headway here. And, I think the optimism that we experienced before the season started, which I still think should exist in the month of February, could really blossom again next year.
Now, Rob, and I want to make sure that this is a correct sentence. The freshmen this year will still be freshmen next year.
That's correct, yeah.
So
players like Daniel Ogoro will be a third-year freshman. Kenny Ganley Jr. will be a third-year freshman.
See, this kind of reminds me. This kind of reminds me of my years back in school, but I digress.
Yeah, they get to repeat. Yeah, by the time they're done here, they should have their master's degree already accounted for.
Yeah, there you go. Now, here's the thing. I mean, at some point in time, you're going to pay for it. Okay, next year, you're going to have, depending on how many scholarships are available, next year there could be some scholarships available, and you have a freshman class to go along with the freshman class from this year. But 4 years down the road, or however long it is, you're going to have a lot of people exiting from that particular class, where 4 years later, there's going to be a whole lot of scholarships available in different colleges. Let's do the arithmetic here. In 4 years, like a 25-26 campaign, potentially there's going to be a ridiculous amount of scholarships available across America.
Oh, I agree. I think what you're going to see, and again, it's across the landscape, is you're going to see a lot of transfers. You're going to see kids that are, let's say, at mid-majors that have played at that school for 3 years, now can move on to another program. They've already gotten their degree in 3 or 4 years. They'll still have 2 years left. Let's say they got 2 years left. They can go. So I think you're going to see a lot of transfers. I think you'll see some D2 kids move up and get an opportunity. But, yeah, it's going to be very difficult, I would think, for coaches across the country to figure out how to manipulate their roster. So you're right. So they're not so senior dominated where you've got 7, 8 guys graduating all at once and you having to flip the roster and start, much like we did this year, with 7 new freshmen.
Yeah, I think that point about transfers is solid, especially since the NCAA kind of lifted the, you can transfer for this year without the consequence of having to sit out or whatever it may be. I think the transfer portal is going to be very, very busy in the next, 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I agree because, so let's say you're a sophomore. Let's say you're a junior. This would be technically your 3rd year, but you can transfer after this year and still have 2 years left to give to another program. So, this year being kind of a forgiven season really does open up a lot of opportunities for some players who feel that they can maybe move up, move on, move out, however they feel, just because, they get this year back. It's going to change the landscape, I would think, of a lot of rosters around the country.
All right, Rob, YSU taking on Illinois Chicago this weekend. We alluded to the fact that they're no longer a guard-oriented offense. It's now more of an inside presence. So the opportunity for my guy, Sheikh Traore, to get into the lineup, get a little more minutes. What else can we expect this weekend in this series between these two teams?
Well, I think for the most part, our guys are going to have to shoot it better from the outside than they did in the series at Oakland because of that height that UIC will bring here. 2 of their top players, and Michael Diggins is 6'8". Braylon Bridges is 6'10". They've got a transfer in Travion Martin, who's not played a lot, but he's still 6'8". Rob Howard, if he's healthy, is 6'8". They've got a guard that'll come off the bench, and Brian Taylor, who's 6'6". Even their top point guard, Tavion Kirk, is 6'4". So I think, so they don't decide to pack it in. I think you got to hit your outside. I think you got to hit your outside shot, whether it's mid-range or 3. You got to get them away from the basket. You're probably going to want to run, I would think, and get down the floor before they can get settled in defensively. UIC does have a tendency to get into foul trouble, but it's also a team that likes to shoot threes. For as big as they are, they still have a tendency to shoot threes, but it'll be a completely different look because they're under a brand new head coach. They were under Coach McClain last year. Now they're under Coach Luke Yaklich. So it'll be a different look than what we've seen the past several years from UIC, a team we played 3 times last year.
Okay, so 8 of the final 10 games are going to be at Bigley, and obviously with home field advantage comes hopefully the opportunity for the Penguins to start getting 2 games in a row because, the formula for success is win your games at home and split on the road. Well, if the Penguins are able to win 8 games, now we're looking at least 11 conference wins.
Yeah.
That's a great way to get into the tournaments, getting on a tear like 8 out of 10, or hopefully a little more than 8 out of 10, but still 8 out of 10 minimum. That is a great tear going into the tournament.
No, you're 100% right, and Coach Calhoun's talked about it. Where you'll find out where this team is this weekend is consistency. They've played spurts where they've been very, very good, and that's even been in the losses. The loss at Oakland last week, they were up 10 in the first half and couldn't hold on to that 10-point lead and eventually lost by 7. The night before, they were up 8 in the first half and eventually got beat by 17. So they've played well in spurts. They've played well in halves. They played well in the first half of each game last weekend at Oakland, where they were either up or down 2 at the half, and then really just couldn't shoot very well in the second half, and things kind of fell apart. So for them to sweep Ron this weekend, and we'll see it, obviously through the first night, is they've got to be consistent. So if you win game 1, you got to be consistent and come back in game 2. They've not shown that ability yet. And really what we'll look for Friday is, can you play well in the first half and then follow that up with a solid second half?
And their shooting struggles, especially last weekend in Oakland when I was watching, I thought it was just poor shot selection, taking shots that maybe look good but aren't the greatest shot you can get out of the offense, or taking shots that aren't coming out of the offense at all. Do you think that's going to be a point of emphasis this weekend in shot selection and making sure that the shots they get come out of ball movement and come out of the offensive set?
No, you're right, Anthony. I think that was one thing Coach Calhoun had talked about, especially on Friday. The ball didn't move very well, and I think he was very disappointed in that out of game 1, where it seemed to stick and things got a little stagnant, and then you got down to the end of the shot clock, and you're just going for anything that you think you can get off. So I think it will definitely be a point of emphasis this week for them to move the basketball, try to find the soft spot in UIC's interior. But again, they're going to have to make their shots. But you're right, that ball's got to move better this weekend. I think they're going to probably try to speed UIC up and try and obviously force some turnovers when they've got it. But yeah, that ball's got to move better than it did last weekend.
Rob Schmidt, the voice of the YSU men's basketball program. So a Friday and Saturday game as we are close to the end of January. Rob, let me ask you, when we get into the month of February, has the Horizon League made any kind of inroads in terms of loosening the laws of people to be allowed in respective arenas?
No, it would appear that it's going to be this way for the rest of the season, that there'll be no one in attendance for the men's or women's basketball games, which is unfortunate. I know our guys, from what I've heard, our guys are still trying to find one more non-league opponent that, being it would be non-league, they'd be allowed to have some people in attendance. And I think they're trying to maybe do something like that for Senior Day. But as for the league is concerned, no, it'll be this way for the rest of the year, which means, you're going to have to create your own energy. And I thought our bench did as well as it could Saturday at Oakland by trying to get a noisy, get up on your feet, kind of applaud our guys and try to push them when they needed push. So it's going to come down to you creating your own atmosphere again.
One of the things that I really enjoy when we're at Bigley doing the ball games is the fact that the bench gets into the game, that they're actually their own cheering section, and it's pretty cool to see. And I know that part of the 3-7 record might have to do with the fact that there are no fans in the stands, because some people their game is such where if people aren't in the stands, their game kind of tails away, because it's a tough thing mentally to deal with. If there's nobody in the stands, some folks they don't play nearly as well.
No, I agree. I thought, in all honesty, I really kind of thought, and we've heard it here for years, when it used to be written about in the paper about attendance at whether it's basketball games or football games, and fans being here, fans not being here. trying to make a push to get people interested to come to games. And I always thought, you know what, for the kids, they're going to play the game regardless. But you know what, having sat in empty arenas now and try to create that excitement, it's difficult, even for myself. And I'm not playing the game, obviously, but to actually kind of create that excitement where you're sitting there and the fans are screaming over your shoulder or they're booing you, and you get that, you get the loudness from the crowd and the energy from them. I'm not gonna dismiss that so readily anymore. I think it's a big loss to the game, and you're right. It's a setback for the kids because they don't have that same atmosphere.
And now that the YSU's home, they're really going to feel that effect, because that's when you really feel the energy, when your home crowd is behind you. And now 8 out of the last 10 games, they're at home, but they're also going to have to deal with the fact that their home fans aren't really physically behind them, and they're giving them energy in the down times of the game.
Now, the bonus now moving forward is obviously you get to play on the same court and shoot at the same baskets that you practice at every day. You're not worried today about what time are you leaving for your next venue tomorrow. So travel, does not become a concern. You're not figuring out, let's practice Thursday morning, get on the bus, let's get to the hotel, then we got to try to take a shoot-around time on Friday. Now, you're not hustling to get on a bus or staying up Wednesday and packing it. It just there's some stress that's alleviated by being here at home that I think will allow our guys to relax a little bit over these next 8 home games.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around the fact that people actually boo you.
No, man.
Yeah.
They might be booing me. You're right. I'm not sure if they're booing anybody. They might be booing me.
I don't understand that at all. You're a lovable kind of guy, Rob. I mean, I don't understand how anyone could boo you.
And, talk to my wife. She'll tell you. She'll be the first to tell you how to boo me.
That is the bang bang moment for Rob Schmidt, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to seeing you on Friday, brother.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, guys. It should be a lot of fun, and keep your fingers crossed that we start the second half with a couple of wins.
Yeah, and hopefully Darius Quisenberry gets back on the floor real quick. It's always good to see DQ doing his thing in a Penguin uniform.
I agree. We need him back, buddy.
All right, brother. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Ron.
See you,
Anthony.
Rob Schmidt, the voice of YSU men's basketball. Yeah, that's. I didn't realize that people booed Rob Schmidt. That's interesting.
I think he meant to.
I know. I'm having fun with that.
But I've seen places where especially basketball, because the announcers are, in the press.
They're there.
See them.
Yeah.
They're not up in the press box.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They make a big call, and it's an away game, so the crowd's quiet and they can hear everything the announcer is saying, and you get a little antsy. You boo the guy, you tease him, especially at Duke. Oh man, because you're right behind the.
Oh, you're right behind the crazies. Yeah, absolutely. Now, my memory went back to the state championship game. I called the game for one of the stations no longer exists in Youngstown. It was the first all sports station, WASN, 1330, and then. Long time ago, in the mid-'90s, when Ursuline made their run, the boys won the state championship on a tip-in the last second. I was broadcasting the game, and the team that played Ursuline, their fans were going crazy behind me. So, I'm broadcasting the game, and of course, Ursuline is at the foul line. They missed their free throw, down 1, which would have sent the game into overtime. But you get the tip in at the buzzer, and the crowd is like, the basket doesn't count, it doesn't count, it doesn't count. And I'm just turning around going, and Ursuline is just shot. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm kind of like poking the bear. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't do that because I'm going to have to turn my back to them here sooner or later. Yeah. To be young again and feisty.
Well, while Rob Schmidt was on, we got more news unfortunately for COVID. The Valley Christian girls are going to be shut down for a period because of a COVID quarantine. So, unfortunately, that's a program we talked about early on in this broadcast where they beat United, they took the lead in the EOAC, and unfortunately, they're going to be quarantined for a little bit.
Now, again, we'll harken back. Valley Christian earlier in the week played somebody.
They played United.
So
they played United on Monday.
Does United start saying, "Hey, maybe we should start testing our kids here because 2 days ago we played these girls, and now they're getting shut down." I mean, how many tentacles are we talking here?
Right, it's like a spaghetti. It's like a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah,
for you Italians.
Very well played, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Bene, molto bene, molto bene. Yeah, very good. Now, how many teams are going to be sitting back and going, "Hey, we played these kids recently. Maybe we should have our kids tested." And then, if your kids are positive, then you got to go back to how many games? I mean, it just, God, I hope this ends soon because it's just making the whole season crazy. It just really is. And somehow, some way, we're accomplishing some stuff. We're trucking through this. I mean, it's just crazy how this has gone. But fortunately, most of the teams are playing basketball.
And I think when you look at the okay, this team shut down, it's easy to kind of get into that Eeyore kind of state. Oh man,
yeah. Or Mr. Snuffleupagus.
But when you look at it in a big picture, I think we've had more teams not shut down or only shut down like for a little bit than not. So in the big picture, we've been able to truck through this whole basketball season pretty good. Even though we've had teams that have had to shut down, I think if you look at the big picture, we've had more teams, be able to play. Right now having 13 games. And then not. So
we're going to take a time out. On the other side, we'll get to the network scheduling tonight on YSN. And then, obviously, the elephant in the room we got to address. The two shirts that are being worn right now. We got to talk about our teams. It's all coming up in a bit. Stick around.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Rude gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Rude, and so should you.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
High-res Futurecast shows steady snow for the next few hours.
Still just downright cold.
It is bitter out there.
Several strong bands of lake effect snow.
Winds is kind of the big story today as well.
So if you need a more detailed winter forecast on WFMJ.com and the Storm Tracker 21 app.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig. Back. Better than ever.
Better than ever.
Better than ever. All right, we got a few games on the network tonight. A couple of 5:30 starts. Junior high boys basketball from Edison. Steubenville will be taking on Edison. That'll be a fun game. Girls basketball tonight from Youngstown East. Cardinal Mooney girls will be playing Youngstown East. Girls basketball tonight from Ursuline. Cheney will be playing Ursuline. City Series all about the four teams playing each other. That's always cool. 7 o'clock tonight, somewhere thereabouts. Harding will be at Boardman, and Howland will be at Canfield, and that's in their league. Is that still the All-American Conference red tier?
I don't know if they have tiers now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's...
I mean, because...
I think the tiers broke up when other teams left and went into other conferences.
Yeah, because didn't the Mahoning Valley Athletic Conference kind of like steal the AAC's tiers?
And then the other tier used to be what the NE8 is now, right? With Pullman and
so I
Harvard.
mean, it's just call it the AAC then.
Right, it's the AAC.
Yeah, so...
that Warren Harding, I mean... That girls program, we talked about the boys, the girls program is ridiculously good.
They're good. They're really good. And I'll be curious to see how many games all of these Trumbull County schools can get in. And I've been saying while you're gone, player conference games first.
Did you see what the OHSAA came out and did today? Teams can now play 2 games in one day.
And I wanted...
Which we all know what that's about.
Yeah.
Because OHSAA never does anything that doesn't benefit itself.
Exactly.
So,
but I wanted to get some verification from Tim Streed on that one, because it doesn't sound normal that you would have a team saying, "Oh, hey, you guys want to play 2 games in one day? Sure, go ahead."
I think we might see some tournaments where a team wins on a Saturday morning and plays again Saturday night.
But how fair would that be?
If you have both teams playing on the Saturday morning, the winners play on the night.
But I mean,
that's your sectional in one day.
Okay, well, here's my argument to that. If you have a team, let's say that a team with 9 or 10 deep is going up against a team that's 6 deep, 7 deep. Come on.
What did we say about fair during COVID?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not necessarily a big fan of playing 2 games, but I think that's where when I looked at that, I saw, man, we're gonna have 2 tournament games in one day. That's
day night doubleheader. You got to pay for 2 admissions.
Otherwise, why would the OHSAA do it? They're doing it because it's going to benefit them in some way. Yeah. And the only way they benefit is tournament games. So
you could be right on that. I really didn't think of it that way, but you might very well be right on this. And to cement your point, as I mentioned, day-night doubleheaders, you're paying for the day game. Oh, by the way, you're paying for the night game as well. It'll be the same thing. So, yeah, the Benjamins, you may very well be right on this. Tony, you're on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. What up, brother?
I hear a voice in the background. Whose is it?
It goes from the past.
Okay, now I get the gist of it. Now I know who it is. Hey, great news. Colin Cowherd is actually pulling, he's actually petitioning the NFL. He wants this game delayed until Pat Mahomes is healthy. I think they should at least give the team at least a bye week or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if Colin was serious or not when he said that.
He's not serious.
He can't be serious.
He's a big Josh Allen supporter. He likes Josh Allen.
Yeah, and let's be honest, that there are times when national guys tend to say stuff like that just for ratings purposes.
You would never do that, right, Ron?
I don't do that.
No. No local guys and no local callers ever do that.
Yeah, I've to me, and I'm dead serious when I say this. I've never done that.
Right
now.
You have some opinions.
I have some opinions that might be a little far-fetched, but they're my opinions. But I've never done that to.
Speaking of your opinions, Ron, I actually thought about that fumble through. Oh, by the way, it did go out the side of the end zone.
Yeah, it went out the side.
By the letter of the rule, it was well called.
Yeah.
But you know what? I thought about it, and don't mess with the damn rules. Don't mess with the damn rules. But so that I'm not a hypocrite, if Josh Allen this Sunday reaches for the pylon and it fumbles through and out of the end zone, I think it's a stupid rule.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's fine.
Hey, and I'm knocking on wood as I say this that it doesn't happen, because I surely don't want to see a repeat performance of what Kansas City did to Cleveland on Sunday. I hate that rule. I've never liked it. I think it makes no sense, but it is in existence. And it was Kansas City's ball. And now the helmet-to-helmet hit, I think that this, if you're not going to address the ball goes out of bounds, out of the end zone or through the side of the end zone, at least address we have to have replay on helmet-to-helmet hits.
And then if you do that, you also have to realize that you have to look at the NCAA game and see the troubles that they have with that and learn from that, because there are problems with what the NCAA does to replay targeting that you don't want in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I don't want targeting in the NFL, period. I just want...
Now, I told you I was talking to an official yesterday, and his comment on was, yeah, it could have been missed, but you know what? Do you know how much that official had to cover at that moment?
Oh, he was
the last thing he had no idea who was coming in from where.
Yeah.
He was focusing on a ball, the goal line, the pylon, the receiver's feet. That's all he was looking at. And to judge whether a helmet was the crown of the helmet, blah, blah, blah. It was so quick for him. He's lucky he got the rest of the call right.
No, I agree with you. He had about 4 or 5 things to look at one time.
And we saw the replay. It was clearly a penalty. I mean, it was clearly a helmet-to-helmet contact. Daniel Sorensen clearly led with his helmet. But I made a comment yesterday, Anthony. I didn't think it was something. I thought it was shoulder to helmet. I thought the helmet made contact with the arms, which. But you know what? I was unable to pull it up on video yesterday.
No, I saw it. I saw it. It was helmet to helmet.
And he led with the helmet. But when you look at
he led with the helmet. I'm not doubting he led with the helmet, which is a penalty also. That is a penalty. But.
No,
Tony, he actually made contact.
He did. I saw the replay a couple of times. He did.
Now, he turned away after, so he could try to finish the hit without, so at least give him credit for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But definitely initial contact was absolutely helmet to helmet. I think one of the reasons it wasn't called was because of the optics of it.
Of course.
Usually when helmet to helmet contact is called, it's the defender's planted in one spot and he launches his body at a wide receiver that's in the air or whatever it may be. These were two guys diving for a pylon, so it didn't necessarily scream like the optics of a helmet-to-helmet collision.
And the other part where Tony comes in is, okay, the referee's looking at the pylon, he's looking at the feet, he's looking at the elbow, he's looking at the ball, he's looking at everything but what could possibly be happening, because that's way, way low on the list. You got to figure out, okay, if that ball doesn't go inside the pylon and he goes out of bounds, you got to mark the ball where the foot went out of bounds. I mean, there's a lot of things the referee was looking at.
But then there are those people that say, the safety of the player should be at the top of the list instead of. But in the reality of the thing is, you got to call the play first.
Now, with that play being done with and whatnot, okay, I don't want to hear any sore, crabby loser baloney. The Browns lost the game because the Browns' defense was garbage toward the end of the game.
I like Stefanski's answer. He's like, we have a rule, don't reach the ball out. We love his effort, but that's one of the things we tell our players. And so he had no qualms with the rule or the play. He just said, we love the effort, but that's one of the things that we preach as a team, not to reach the ball over the goal line on what would have been first and goal.
Yeah. Now,
further than that, teaching the players to play through. Listen, holding can be called on every damn play. Are we going to complain that they don't make holding calls, that they miss holding calls?
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
A penalty can be called on virtually every play on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And at the end of the day, Kansas City was good enough to get to the AFC title game, and Sunday's going to be fun. Now, it's going to be in the rain, but it's going to, according to the forecast, and I don't trust it until Thursday or Friday, but as of right now, it looks like they're going to be playing in the rain, which that'll be fun.
But they won't be playing in the wind. They won't be playing in the wind, correct?
From what I understand, no. From what I understand, it's just going to simply be rain, and that's going to be it.
Nothing like the wind we saw.
The rain-slow mix seemed to be pushed out. It was supposed to be a rain-snow mix, and it got pushed till the next day, right?
Well, rain showers early mixing with snow showers late, but that's late. The wind is from the northeast, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Chance of rain, 40%. So it appears that it'll just be rain for this game. Maybe by the fourth quarter you go rain and snow mix, but for most of the game it's just going to be rain.
With that prima donna quarterback that the Bills have,
Yeah.
He may not even show up to play in the rain.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's they've had it so easy for the last few weeks. I don't know. I mean,
They lucked past. They lucked past the Colts. They lucked past the Steelers this year.
They did luck past Tony. They did luck past the Colts. I'm sorry, they were outplayed the entire game. And I had a friend of mine who's a huge Colts fan who said, "You realize this should be Colts and Chiefs in the AFC title game?" I said, "Yep," and it ain't.
Well, I don't think the Colts would have beat the Ravens, but that's just beside the point.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that
would have been in Baltimore. No, that would have been in Baltimore, right?
Colts are really damn good.
They were good.
I have great respect for them.
Their Phillip Rivers.
And he came up he played pretty well against the Bills. But
well, he's retired now. Yeah. He announced his retirement today. So
see, you got my text. I think Sam Darnold's. You know what? You guys think he's going to stay with the Jets, but new coaches like new players. They're players. And
I get that, but this is an opportunity for the Jets, and of course, take this with a grain of salt because they are the Jets. You have an established quarterback. You have a second pick in every round this year in the draft. Start building around your quarterback. Now, this is the Jets, and they may very well do something that is non-smart, which is what they normally do.
Are they number 2 pick or number 3 pick?
They're the number 2 pick.
Yeah, well,
they're going to give that to Houston for Deshaun Watson.
Oh, God. No, the other thing is, and I've heard this, Tua Tagovailoa and the 3 pick to Houston for Deshaun Watson. And I'll scream bloody murder because New England's going to be good again. Look, New England's going to be solid again. I mean, look, the Bills have bigger fish to fry this week, but let's be honest. New England's going to be solid next year. And if you add Deshaun Watson to Miami, good Lord, the 1-year reign of terror in the AFC East, could that be it? 1 year.
Now, as for the quarterbacks in this draft, we know who everybody has as number 1, but Justin Fields, where does he rate in this thing?
It's hard because I know I think people are flip-flopping between the kid from BYU and Justin Fields. I still think.
What about the Alabama kid?
He's about right up there with the kid from Ohio State, as far as I'm concerned.
But I struggle with his mobility a little bit. Like, he's like the premier pocket passer, which is dying in the NFL a little bit.
Well, I mean, if you have a really nice offensive line in Indianapolis.
But how many NFL teams have like a really elite offensive line these days?
Yeah.
They're
you
really
count on one hand. Yeah, you count on one
hand. The reason I ask about Fields, and I brought it up before, is and everybody says Urban Meyer has no, you know what, he's going to do the right thing for them down there, whatever he thinks, and he has no commitment to Justin Fields. But Justin Fields was his boy when he brought him in.
True, but
in the number 1 pick, and that number 1 pick for Trevor Lawrence to somebody has a lot of value. And if Justin Fields is going to drop at least a handful of spots, you could pick him up later. You still got the guy you wanted, and you get a lot more draft capital.
I'll throw my hot take in right now. If I were a GM of a National Football League team and I needed a quarterback, I wouldn't take Justin Fields in the first round.
Ian Book?
I wouldn't take. Oh God, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't put him on my taxi squad. Are you kidding me? Hell no.
Ron's happy to never have to root for
God bless him. Have your nice graduation, and hopefully he gets his degree from Notre Dame. I'm sure he will, because he ain't never seeing the National Football League.
Go get a good job with the rest of us, right?
Yeah, go get a nice job, because you're not going to be playing football on the professional level. At least in the States, you're not. Maybe in Canada, you will.
Oh, Canada.
Okay, well, at least I got some jabs in, and I know where you are in this, Anthony. You thought, you wanted a good challenge. You wanted the Steelers there; they were the good team, but you got stuck playing the Bills, and it should be a walkover game for you guys. But but we can still hope, Ron, right?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm just happy to be there. I'm just happy to be there.
I told Ron this early in the season. This one's for Joe.
Yeah. The ass whipping you guys gave us in Orchard Park, that was for Joe. But now we get to have some fun. Now that whole this
you
for
would,
Joe
you would
stuff
agree,
is done.
Anthony. You would agree, Anthony, that this is a different defense than that beat up hurt defense you saw in that game.
It is, and
also in that game wasn't, and I can't remember the sequence of games. Wasn't Josh Allen playing with his arm in a sling?
He had a separated shoulder in the game.
But I think that the Bills' defense is still vulnerable to the type of running that Kansas City does.
And that's where if
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back, that's a big advantage.
Yeah, that's a big advantage for Kansas City if Hilaire's back. I'm not scared of Le'Veon Bell in any way, shape, or form.
No, but you should be scared of Daryl.
I thought
Williams.
Hilaire was gone for the season. What was his injury?
Daryl the Barrel.
Yeah, he's good.
He ate up Cleveland, and he's a third-string running back.
Yeah, he's good. He's a solid player. I mean, it's gonna be a fun game. And like I said, I told Tony and I said it to you before COVID. I'm happy if the Bills get to the AFC title game. Now, obviously, I'm greedy. I want the Bills to go to the Super Bowl, but they're right where I wanted them to be. So even if the Bills lose on Sunday to Kansas City, it would suck. I would be the first to admit it, especially if it's a close game and they lose. But I'm going to be happy because they got to where having said that,
they got past to where you wanted them to be.
Well, originally I wanted them to win a playoff game, go to the divisional round, and then when they beat Pittsburgh the way they did, I said no, scratch that. I want this team in the AFC Championship game. They're in the AFC title game. I'm greedy. I want them to go to the Super Bowl. No. But if they don't, hey, that's I'm good.
They're also playing with house. They're also playing with house money.
They are playing with house money officially now. Yeah.
They need more offense than they got in the first two playoff games.
Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I agree with that.
10 points. The offense scored 10. Your defense spotted you 7.
Well, okay, so let's compare Kansas City's defense to the defense they saw against the Colts and the defense they saw against the Ravens. How's the that defense stack up?
I think everyone kind of knocks on the Chiefs' defense because they give up yards like crazy, but when it comes to points given up, they're 6th in the NFL.
They're like Buffalo.
They just don't give up a lot of points. They make you settle for field goals. Cleveland saw it. When you need a play, they're going to make a play. Chris Jones made a big play on the 3rd and 11 to force Baker Mayfield to throw it out to Kareem Hunt. I mean, Matthew with the big interception. When you need a big play, they have playmakers to make them. They just give up a lot of yards in the process.
They're a lot like the Bills. If you start on the 20, you can go to about the 30-yard line. 20 to 30 is 50 yards. And you'll chew up 50 yards. But once you get somewhere close to the 30-yard line, that's when the defense says, okay, time for us to start digging in and fold you to a field goal. And the Bills have done that the last 7 or 8 weeks. It's similar teams.
We can agree that this is the game the NFL probably wanted to see. They've got three of the top.
They would have really liked
3 top MVP candidates playing still.
They would have really liked Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes in an AFC Championship, I think. But they'll settle for the season that Josh Allen's
Anybody
having.
but the Bills, Anthony. Anybody but the Bills.
The season Josh Allen's
Steelers,
having.
they really want the Steelers. Okay.
Well, we weren't having the Steelers because if we played them, it would have been in the divisional round. So
yeah, and looking back on it, if the Colts had beaten the Bills, you would have played the Colts.
You think the Colts would have went to Baltimore and beat them?
No. The Colts would have played
Kansas
City because they were the 7th seed.
Right.
So, and the Browns would have had to play the Ravens, and the Ravens would have beaten them because the Browns can't beat the Ravens. So there you go. It would have been Ravens-Chiefs.
I think the NFL loves the NFC side.
I think the old guard loves the NFC side because now you have allegedly the GOAT against allegedly the greatest player
right now.
Right now. And then in the NFC, you've got two kids.
Not alleged. I mean, like Tom Brady.
He's not the GOAT. He's up there, but he's not the GOAT. I'm sorry, he's not. And then on the AFC side, you have 2 kids under 25, one that has a ring and one that desperately wants to get his team back to the Super Bowl 25 years after or not 25, close to 20 years after the fact.
The last time they did it, they beat the Chiefs to do it, right?
Actually, over 25 years. Yeah, and the last time they played in a championship game, the only time the two teams played in a championship game against each other, I was at the game. Bills beat the Chiefs. So
in Orchard Park.
In Orchard Park. So it'll be a fun game, regardless. And I'm just glad it's a primetime game.
Both Week 6 matchups, by the way, which is funny coincidence.
And interestingly enough, Green Bay got destroyed in Tampa. They could take them in Green Bay. Buffalo got destroyed in Buffalo. You go to the top seeded team in Kansas City. So it'll be fun to watch.
Hey Ron, I was in Home Depot this morning getting some plumbing supplies.
Did you get some tables?
Yeah, they were out. They were out. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize how many Buffalo Bills. No, seriously, I didn't realize how. I thought it was you and the newbie me as the Buffalo fans in this area. There are a lot of Buffalo fans around here. This guy came in with a really nice pullover, quarter zip pullover that had paint all over it, so you know he's had it for a while, and a Bills hat. And
nice.
He was from Buffalo originally, and you know. So.
There might be some people that had a Steelers coat on and then just unzipped it to a Buffalo hoodie.
Ah, I see what you're doing. All right. Well, the Mafia the Mafia did say, jump on our bandwagon.
Kind of like what I did in the beginning of the 2015 football season when the Chiefs didn't get off to a good start. I just unzipped the Chiefs hoodie and pulled out the Royals hoodie because they were the ones.
As I get off the phone today, I got to do what I did last week, which was bet the house on the Chiefs this week. There's no doubt in my mind.
I would not bet on the Chiefs. They haven't covered a spread since November. So if I was betting, I would not bet on the Chiefs.
Well, bet the money line then, because you know they're going to. In my opinion, they've got to win. I know they're going to win. So bet the money line at least.
We'll see what happens.
That's the same bet I made last week, and it worked out perfectly for me. I'll see you later.
All right, Tony. I'll see you. Yeah, that's.
I like it. Like just saying it objectively. If I was betting,
I think he was being sarcastic.
I know. If I was betting with the spread, I wouldn't bet again. I wouldn't bet it with Kansas City because this season they haven't been dominant. They've won a lot of close games, but they haven't covered the spread since I think November.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't do anything right now because you don't know if Patrick Mahomes is playing or not. Right. Now, obviously, I think he's going to, but that's an opinion. That's not a fact. And right now, the line is 3 points. Much like Tampa Bay and Green Bay, the line is 3 points. You can figure a 3-point home field advantage, so it's a toss-up, basically. And that's without Mahomes. Now, if Mahomes plays, one would expect that number to jump by 2, 3?
5.
I mean, by 2 points, 3 points, so you jump it up to about 5? I don't know. I don't know. I think this game is going to be airtight, real close type of a game. Matter of fact, I don't think either one of these games is going to be a blowout. I think both of them are going to be exciting as hell.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard to pick against Aaron Rodgers this week the way he's playing. But then at the other end, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs.
I've lost money betting against Tom Brady. I'm not doing that ever again.
It's one of those conundrums. I mean, Antonio Brown got kind of tweaked up a little bit, and he's been important to their resurgence.
Yep.
I don't know how to pick that one, and objectively, I don't know how to pick the AFC Championship game right now either because you don't know if Mahomes.
Well, let's go storylines for a second, and we'll use Kansas City. I mean, it writes itself. Kansas City against Green Bay, the two most talented quarterbacks in the game today, facing off against each other.
Match up against Super Bowl one.
And match up with Super Bowl one. Aaron Rodgers desperately looking for his second title. Mahomes looking for a repeat. Story writes itself.
Right.
Kansas City against Tampa Bay. The old guard, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, going up against a lot of people that believe if there is a new and improved Tom Brady that exists, his name is Patrick Mahomes.
Or at least a new face of the NFL.
There you go. So you got pretty good storylines there. Now, let's go if Buffalo beats Kansas City. Buffalo plays Green Bay. the Bills, Josh Allen, looking to, and I hate
if Buffalo wins, the storyline is going to be knocking off the
4 in a row kind of
right,
thing.
Right.
That whole thing. And okay, I can sort of understand that. I'm going to be a little pissed about it because this version has nothing to do with the early 90s version,
right,
except for the fact that when McDermott was hired, he invited Bruce Smith, Darryl Talley, Cornelius Bennett, Steve Tasker, Reed, Thomas, and Kelly over for dinner, and they all talked about what made that team so special. But it has nothing to do with it. So you'd have the 2 hardest throwing quarterbacks in the game in Allen and Rodgers. Okay. For me, the storyline is if Buffalo were to play Tampa Bay. Not only is it Tom Brady looking to become the winningest quarterback of all time in terms of championships won, but more importantly, Tom Brady goes back to the scene of the crime where he bitch-slapped Buffalo all through his career. 20 years in New England, 40 games against Buffalo, and I can only count on one damn hand the amount of times Buffalo beat New England. So for me, it would be Tom Brady going up and tackling the bully that's actually the little brother because he abused them when he was in New England.
And then for the Bills, it'd be the opposite.
And in Bill's case, it would be Buffalo goes through Satan to win a state to Super Bowl championship. I think the story writes itself. I think it would be phenomenal.
Back away, Satan.
You're going down now, Satan. Look, whoever wins, I guarantee we're going to have a good Super Bowl.
It's not like 2 years ago when it was Chiefs, Patriots, and then I think Saints and Rams on the other end.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh man, if it was Chiefs and Saints, it's a really good storyline because it's Mahomes coming up from the, his first, MVP type season,
yep,
and then you got Drew Brees on the other end. But then it happened to be Patriots Rams, and there were no real big storylines, and the game kind of masked that, where it was like a quote unquote. I like the game because I thought the game
was fantastic.
I love defensive struggles, but a lot of people don't like that. It was a boring Super Bowl. So it kind of matched the fact that there were no real. You're gonna find storylines in the Super Bowl anyway because you got 2 weeks, but there were no big obvious right in your face storylines for Patriots versus Rams. Would have been if it was Patriots versus Saints because it's obviously Tom Brady, Drew Brees, 2 of the greatest in the generation going up against each other.
And it would have been a disappointment based on Sunday's game.
Right. Well, back then you don't know because Tom Brady.
Yeah,
Drew Brees
but if it were the kind of game that was played Sunday, it would have been a disappointment where Brees looked old.
I hate that Drew Brees had to end like that.
Does he end like that though? I hope he does, but a part of me doesn't want him to.
Everyone makes a big deal out of the fact that he looked at the crowd and he gave the fist pump, but he said in the press conference, I do that every game.
Yeah. Yeah, that just...
So I don't know if that means as much as people are kind of building it up, but he does have the broadcasting job lined up, so you got to think that he had plans to this be the last year, and then he said in the press conference that the way this ended isn't going to affect it, and he said that pretty confidently. So I don't know.
Who knew that Phillip Rivers would be the first quarterback to announce the retirement, though?
He limped his way through this season with the ribs and everything. He might just say, you know what, enough's enough. I'm an undersized quarterback as it is. Now I'm an undersized old quarterback.
Yeah.
Let's just take the career, take the record for most passing yards and most completions and most touchdowns.
Yes.
I think.
He has all of them.
Okay.
He does. He has all of them.
I didn't know if Brady got past him this year.
I think he still has most touchdowns.
So it's I would have loved to see him get one more Super Bowl, but you got one, and that's what you need to really solidify a career. At least one.
Yeah.
So
you're back here tomorrow?
I'm back tomorrow.
We're gonna have all kinds of fun talking girls basketball, women's basketball with Dre Smith. It'll be a blast, and I think you'll probably have another Chiefs thing on. I definitely will have my Bills hoodie on, so we'll have some more fun with that.
Some more fun.
All right. Yeah, we're out of here.
Maybe by then we'll know who's playing. And
exactly. Hopefully by then we'll know if Mahomes is going to play, but I kind of doubt it. Probably not until Friday.
I don't think he has a concussion. The tackle looked more like he got
choked out. Yeah, that's been a topic of conversation.
I want to say, as a Chiefs fan, and we got like 2 minutes left, that was not a dirty tackle.
No.
I saw a lot of people from my side attack Miles.
Mac Wilson.
Mac Wilson on Twitter and everything, and he got death threats, which is just
absurd.
Ridiculous because it's football. It wasn't a dirty tackle. It was just one of those awkward ones where your arm gets caught under the guy's neck, and his body momentum took him across the body.
Yeah.
And slow-mo hurt you there because slow-mo makes it look like he held on to him for so long.
Yeah.
But in real speed, he held on to him for about a second.
I tip my cap to him because he looked an awful lot like Sergeant Slaughter did back in the day when you used to put people in the neck hold and choked them all out. But it wasn't a dirty hit.
It wasn't a dirty hit, and then the helmet to helmet wasn't a dirty hit.
No,
that's on my side.
It wasn't.
The only option for Dan Sorensen was, either let him score or dive and try to make contact so he doesn't cross the pylon.
Yeah, exactly. Neither one of them were dirty hits. It was just part of the game, unfortunately.
Fortunately, his nickname is Dirty Dan.
Yeah,
so that got Browns fans a little hot under the collar when they saw the Twitter.
Yeah,
Chiefs Twitter say Dirty Dan makes a big play.
Yeah, probably.
Sorry.
Yeah, probably not the
Bad
goodest of names for him. All right, that's it. We're out of here. Power Hour is coming up next. Enjoy the rest